Chapter 28:39. I'm sorry. It's all because of me. I pissed off the dragon, and I dragged you down with me. Chi-Chi said apologetically. Lin-Yi had helped her time and time again. How could she not be touched? Now that she thought about it, Chi-Chi felt guilty. Lin-Yi didn't owe her anything, so why was he helping her again and again? It's nothing. Even if it didn't throw me down, I jumped down myself to find you. Lin-Yi said, our team came together. We couldn't just leave you here alone, could we? Right. How's Zhang Naipeo? Chi-Chi asked. He got revenge for you. Lin-Yi didn't go into specifics, but Chi-Chi should be able to understand. As expected, Chi-Chi's mouth opened in shock. Lin-Yi's strength was beyond her expectations, but it made sense, after all, when hadn't Lin-Yi crushed his opponents beneath his feet. Yeah, Chi-Chi nodded, but thinking about how she failed to get the scale from the 5 malefic dragon, she couldn't help but feel a little down. Little Nine's condition was getting worse. It wasn't that serious before, but it had been getting worse and worse for the past year, and Chi-Chi had been running around looking for medicine and ways to cure Little Nine. Chi-Chi's house was a large assassin organization, but it was only one of the largest in the common world. If it weren't for Lil Nine's illness, they'd never have any contact with the training world. But in order to cure Lil Nine's illness, Chi-Chi had no choice but to step into an unknown territory. What's wrong? Lin-Yi asked, seeing the heavy look on Chi-Chi's face. It's nothing. I didn't get what I wanted from the test. Chi-Chi sighed. You want to go ask the dragon for its scale? Lin-Yi asked, a little moved. Yeah, I wanted to talk to it, but it didn't talk to me. I thought it was asleep, so I sneakily went to pluck one off, but it was just pretending to sleep. It grabbed me and threw me off the cliff. Chi-Chi said, a little troubled. Lin-Yi felt that Chi-Chi's actions were a bit crazy, but Lin-Yi hadn't fought the 5 malefic dragon himself. Who would have thought that it was that strong? Chi-Chi didn't know how strong the dragon was either. Forget it. I'll think of another way. Chi-Chi sat on the ground, hugging her legs. That was what she said, but anyone could see the helplessness in her eyes. Do you really need the scales of the 5 evils dragon? Lin-Yi's heart softened as he asked. As long as it's something from the dragon's claw, it doesn't have to be a scale. Wouldn't it be even more pissed off if we cut off a piece of meat? Chi-Chi said. If it's something else from the dragon's claw, then what about this? Lin-Yi took out the nail he'd collected from the 5 malefic dragon and showed it to Chi-Chi. This is... Chi-Chi blinked. This is a nail from the 5 malefic dragon. I fought it before and it used its nail to stab a friend of mine, but the nail broke, so I kept it. Lin-Yi said. Chi-Chi was pleasantly surprised. She didn't think that the nail would be in Lin-Yi's hands. Did this mean that this trip wasn't a waste? Chi-Chi wanted to take the nail from Lin-Yi, but then remembered how precious it was. She couldn't just take something from Lin-Yi for free. I don't have anything to trade with you. You'll trade yourself then. Lin-Yi said seriously, holding back his laughter. Chi-Chi paused, not expecting a condition like this from Lin-Yi. She didn't know what to do. Can't you change the condition? I can pay on credit. Where would I find you if you ran away? Lin-Yi said. Chi-Chi went silent. That was right. Where would Lin-Yi go to find her if she ran? Most importantly, Chi-Chi really did want that nail from Lin-Yi's hand. With that, Lil Joe's illness could be cured. Haha, I'm just messing with you. Lin-Yi put the nail in Chi-Chi's hand, smiling. Take it, it's a gift to you. Don't always think so badly of people. Chi-Chi took the nail from Lin-Yi's hand, unable to hold back the tears that started falling down her cheeks. Why were you crying again? Wasn't I just joking? Lin-Yi didn't know what to say as he looked at Chi-Chi's tear-stained face. No. Chi-Chi shook her head. Lin-Yi, you're a good person. I won't kill you, but there's someone else in my heart already. I'll repay you in other ways. Is this a good person card? Lin-Yi smiled, not caring. But a good person card is a good person card. Thank you. Chi-Chi smiled through her tears. How do I use this? Lin-Yi couldn't imagine how the nail could be used to cure a disease. Do I just eat it? I don't know, I asked around for a long time and looked through a lot of ancient books before I found out about the use of the claw. Chi-Chi said. How do you use it? You eat it, I guess? Alright, pretend I didn't ask.
Lin Yi said.
Let's get ready and go back to safety. Zhao Qikuan and the others are probably getting impatient. Alright, but how are we going to get up? Chi-Chi looked up and saw how high the cliff was. The height gave her a fright. There was no way they could jump up. I've come down once with someone before, and there are climbing marks on the cliff over there. We just need to follow the marks and jump up. Lin Yi said, pointing in a direction not far away. That's good. Chi-Chi breathed out in relief. She really wouldn't know how to get up there otherwise. She was just good at Qinggong, but no matter how good she was, she couldn't jump that high. Lin Yi brought Chi-Chi to the place where he and Tian-Chan had jumped. Lin Yi decided to give it a try, and so he jumped towards the first spot Tian-Chan made. Chapter 2840. At first, Lin Yi didn't think about whether or not he could climb back up when he went down to save Chi-Chi. He thought that with the marks left behind by Tian-Chan, he would be able to climb up easily. But now Lin Yi realized that he was wrong. He'd neglected the most important point. The difference in strength between him and Tian-Chan. Lin Yi's running speed was about the same as a sky class, but that didn't mean that his strength was the same. The height that a sky class could jump wasn't something that Lin Yi could reach with his current strength. Chi-Chi paused as she watched Lin Yi jump up and down, noticing the problem as well. She saw the marks left behind by Tian-Chan, but the height wasn't something Chi-Chi could reach. She knew her Qinggong very well. There was no way she could reach that height. Lin Yi's failure made Chi-Chi's face change. The marks are too high. I can't jump up. I can't jump up either. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. That jump had pretty much used up all of Lin Yi's energy, but he still couldn't reach Tian-Chan's height. There was no way to make up for the difference in strength. Even if Lin Yi used all of his qi, he still wouldn't be able to beat Tian-Chan. And from the looks of it, not only could Tian-Chan jump that high, but she still had enough energy to use techniques to hit the cliffs. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had used up all of his energy just jumping, let alone hitting the cliffs. Plus, with Lin Yi's current strength, he probably wouldn't be able to do any damage to the cliffs. Tian-Chan had used her sky-class late-phase peak strength, but she'd only left a few shallow marks on the cliffs. Then Chi-Chi's eyes went wide at Lin Yi's words. We can't go up? I can't go up anymore. Lin Yi nodded. Previously, he had been anxious to save people and had neglected these problems. Now that he had thought of it, it was too late. Unless another master on the level of Tian-Chan came down to rescue them, Lin Yi was really helpless. Then how did you guys get up there? Chi-Chi asked curiously. Before, my friend was a sky-class late-phase peak. Lin Yi told Chi-Chi about how he went up with Tian-Chan and how he helped Tian-Chan replenish her stamina. Chi-Chi knew more than enough about him anyways, and Lin Yi didn't need to hide anything. I see. Then, is there no other way? Chi-Chi frowned. No. With that, Lin Yi told Chi-Chi about what he and Tian-Chan had discussed before. Lin Yi had been trapped once before, so there was no point in looking for another way out. We can't get out? How can we? Chi-Chi couldn't accept this at all. She'd finally found the claw of the 5 malefic dragon, and she wanted to give it to Little Nine as soon as possible. She didn't expect to be trapped here. That's the truth. Lin Yi said helplessly, but there was nothing he could do. We wouldn't be using this stupid method if there was another way out. Then, what about that sky-class late-phase peak friend of yours? Would she find out that you didn't go back and come looking for you? Chi-Chi asked hopefully. That friend of mine is just a chance acquaintance, a temporary companion. She left after going up here. There's no way she'd come back. Lin Yi shook his head. Lin Yi was actually panicking as well, but judging from Chi-Chi's expression, she'd probably go crazy if Lin Yi kept panicking. As a result, Lin Yi tried his best to look calm, but Lin Yi was actually panicking as well. But Lin Yi's hopes were on Skybolt Pig. The pig didn't come down with him. If he waited for a while and realized that he wasn't going up, would he go tell Feng Shipian and the others? But if it was just Lee Siba and Foam Shipian, Lin Yi couldn't guarantee that they'd be able to make it up. Who knew if they were all stuck here? Lin Yi had thought about getting Lee Siba to hit the cliff, but he was only a sky class mid-phase, and while he was a physical practitioner, Lin Yi couldn't help him recover his chi. Even if Lin Yi brought him up, he'd probably give up halfway. Of course, he could let Lee Siba recover on his own, and Lin Yi would bring him up after he'd recovered. That way, they'd be able to reach the next level, but the drawback was obvious as well. There was a time limit to the test, and after 20 days, the Five's malice chi would invade the body. Lin Yi was fine, but Lee Siba and the others weren't. They'd probably go mad from the Five's malice chi invading their bodies before they even reached the halfway point. So, this method wouldn't work. Lin Yi was conflicted. He didn't know what choice Skybolt Pig would make. Then, why did you come to save me? Doesn't that mean you're stuck here with me? Yang Qiqi looked at Lin Yi, touched and sympathetic. She didn't know what to say. Lin Yi had helped her and taken care of her, and that was something she'd seen with her own eyes. She just didn't know how to repay him. Haha. Lin Yi smiled and didn't say anything else. Lin Yi could tell from the unique mark on Qiqi's ring that she came from the place he trained at when he was young, and since she was close to the 9th princess, she must be a core disciple there. But Lin Yi was still young back then, and his memories were still stuck in his childhood. He didn't even remember Yang Xiaoxiao and the 9th princess, let alone this girl. Lin Yi's memories were a little hazy, and even if he did remember, he probably wouldn't have much of an impression. Yang Xiaoxiao was his Shifu's daughter, and the 9th princess was his adopted daughter. The two were Lin Yi's companions when he was young. Ever since then, his Shifu had instilled in him that as a captain, he couldn't give up on any of the team members. He had to have teamwork and teamwork. This was one of the reasons why Lin Yi came looking for Yang Qiqi. Lin Yi felt a little emotional at the thought of Yang Xiaoxiao and the 9th princess. It had been so many years since he'd gone back, it was about time. From the princess' tone, Lin Yi could tell that she wasn't happy that he hadn't been back for so many years. Chapter 28:41. But now he had finally settled down. There were still dangers in life, but it was different from before. Lin Yi had a goal now, and he had a sense of existence. This was the first time Lin Yi had looked at the 9th princess after looking at Yuning. I've said it before, you're a member of my team. I won't give up on any team member, Lin Yi said. Qiqi felt that this sentence was familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it. She only thanked Lin Yi silently. She decided that if they could leave this place successfully, she would do everything she could to help Lin Yi find out what Lin Yi needed in Europe. Don't worry, there's always a way. Let's eat something first. You're hungry, right? Lin Yi asked. Yeah, a little. Qiqi rubbed her stomach. She was worried that she wouldn't be able to leave this place, but now that Lin Yi mentioned it, she really was hungry. Then wait for me here. I'll go catch some fish from the lake over there, Lin Yi said as he stood up and walked towards the lake the pig pointed him to. Qiqi looked at Lin Yi's back as he left, her heart filled with complicated emotions. She felt guilty as well. She'd treated Lin Yi badly, and she'd been biting the hand that fed her. But Lin Yi didn't mind, and helped her every time she was in danger. Qiqi wasn't someone with a heart of stone, so how could she not be touched? Naturally, Lin Yi didn't know that Qiqi's opinion of him had changed. He caught 4 or 5 fish in the lake and quickly went back to where he'd come from. He prepared the fish quickly and skillfully before putting them in a clean place and starting to roast them. All right, eat. Lin Yi gave most of the fish to Qiqi, but only took one for himself. Why are you only eating one? Qiqi asked, a little embarrassed to eat it alone. I'm a spiritual practitioner. I'll be fine after a while. You're a physical practitioner. Your recovery is slower, Lin Yi said. Then, I won't hold back. Qiqi nodded. The difference between spiritual and physical practitioners was that spiritual practitioners could absorb the qi in the air and turn it into their own qi for their own use. Physical practitioners, on the other hand, had to train their body to achieve their goal. Although physical experts could also use the surrounding spiritual qi for their own use after practicing martial arts, Their recovery speed was still a notch lower than that of internal cultivators. Physical practitioners, on the other hand, consumed their physical strength slowly because martial arts used the qi around them instead of using their own qi. There were pros and cons to each. However, if the physical practitioner did not use martial arts, then Zhang Naipeo's thorn arts would lose its effect. Zhang Naipeo's thorn arts could bounce 80% of the qi back to 240%. If the physical practitioner did not use martial arts and only used his strong body to hit Zhang Naipeo, there would be no rebound. However, not to mention that the masters of the Holy Fist Palace did not know about this situation. Even if they knew, they would not cause too much damage to Zhang Naipeo with the strength of their bodies. After all, physical masters also relied on martial arts to win. This was why physical practitioners were no match for spiritual practitioners at a low level. On the contrary, when they were at a high level, they would usually be stronger than spiritual practitioners of the same level. This was also because when external experts activated their martial skills, they mobilized the true energy around their bodies, unlike internal experts who emitted it from their bodies. The higher the level of external experts, the more spiritual energy they could mobilize, and naturally, the more powerful they would be. Yang Qiqi had a good meal of grilled fish. She sat on the ground in a daze, looking at the cliff. The sky was getting dark, but Yang Qiqi didn't feel sleepy. She was trapped here, and she didn't know when she could get out. Lin Yi say, if we can't think of a way to get out when the time is up, will the 5 evils qi invade our bodies and cause us to go crazy? Yang Qiqi asked worriedly. I don't think so. I'll walk around tomorrow and see if there's a way out, Lin Yi said. Okay. Yang Qiqi nodded. She didn't know why she trusted Lin Yi more and more after experiencing so many things with him. Lin Yi's words made her feel at ease. The next morning, at dawn, Lin Yi set off to find a way out. However, Lin Yi couldn't find a good way after walking around for a long time. It seemed that Tian Chan knew this place very well. If she said there was no way, then there was no way. Since Tian Chan could accept the inheritance here, she must know more about the 5 evils mountain than him. So Lin Yi gave up when he couldn't find a way. He turned to the direction of the lake and continued to catch fish. After catching a few fish, Lin Yi returned to the place where he and Yang Qiqi were stationed and continued to grill fish. Yang Qiqi saw that Lin Yi was back. She couldn't just sit back and enjoy the fruits of his labor, so she asked, "What can I do for you? Do you want me to clean these fish?" "It's fine, I'm used to it. Just wait." Lin Yi shook his head and started cleaning the fish like he was used to. Yanjing City. A pack of cigarettes was quickly finished by Tianli. He tried his best to reduce the amount of cigarettes he smoked, but it didn't take long before there was only 1 pack left. Tianli picked up his phone and was about to call Mr. Lang when his phone rang. What surprised him was that it was Mr. Lang. "Mr. Lang, I was just about to call you." Tianli smiled as he picked up the phone. "Mr. Liu, are you panicking? You gave me the money, scared that I'd run away?" Xiao Chun smiled brightly. "Haha, how could that be? Mr. Lang and I have a strategic partnership. Our medicine business is a couple $100 million a year. Why would Mr. Lang care about $30 million? Tianli really didn't think that Mr. Lang would lie to him. On one hand, it was the hypnotist's work, and on the other, the 2 companies had a couple $100 million a year. Mr. Lang wouldn't care about this small amount of money. "I'm just joking, Mr. Liu. I have good news for you," Xiao Chun said, changing the topic. "Oh, what good news? Do you have more cigarettes?" Tianli paused and asked. "We do have cigarettes, but they're all booked the moment the goods arrived. Mr. Liu, I think you should hold it in for a while. We should focus on making money first," Xiao Chun said. Chapter 2852. Closing the net. All booked? None left? Tianli said, shocked. "Mr. Lang, I can't do that. You have to at least leave some for me. I'd rather make less money than keep some for myself. But the profit is very high. The price of a carton of cigarettes is about 10,000 yuan. I can sell it for more than 20,000 yuan. This batch of goods has a total of 2,000 cartons. Once I sell it, I can make a profit of 200%. Xiao Chun said. "We invested 30 million. including the money we used to bribe the gangsters when we smuggled them in. That's 50 million worth of profit. That won't make much of a difference. Leave me 10, no, 20. Tianli thought that the cigarettes would be expensive, but it didn't seem that expensive. He let out a sigh of relief and asked for more. 20? I'll try my best then. 10 should be fine. 20 depends on the situation. Xiaochun hesitated for a moment and said, "By the way, Mr. Liu, let's split the money we earned. About 13 million yuan each. Shall I transfer it to your company's account?" "Oh, just this one deal? You won't do it again?" Tianli paused. The profits moved him quite a bit. He was a conservative person, and he could keep his business, but starting a business was a bit difficult. Naturally, he didn't want to let go of this opportunity. Plus, these cigarettes had become his daily necessities. If he didn't have these cigarettes, he couldn't imagine how he would be able to endure it. So, subconsciously, Tianli hoped that this deal would continue. It's too much money to bribe the gangsters once. This time, I'll use my connections. Next time, they'll probably have to pay 20 to 30 million before they're willing to help us smuggle boats. That way, there won't be much profit. I'm thinking about doing it again, Mr. Lang said, playing hard to get. Our capital is limited, after all. There's no point in doing it again. Is that so? Tianli didn't understand the details of smuggling. He had always been doing proper business, and even when he was importing, it was through the official customs channel. He had never asked a gangster to smuggle a boat. So when Mr. Lang said that, he believed him. But Tianli wasn't too satisfied. Then should we increase the amount of stock each time? Should we talk to those gangsters again? It's not impossible, but I'm afraid that it'll take up too much of Mr. Liu's capital, and I'm also afraid that Mr. Liu will think that this isn't a proper business, Mr. Lang said. The capital can be researched, but this business, this huge profit isn't something I'm interested in. How is that possible? Tianli said. Mr. Lang, where are you? I'll come find you, and we can talk about it. I'm at the hotel. Let me bring Lil Chui to your company, and I'll bring you the cigarettes on the way, Xiaochun said. All right, I'll wait for you at my company, Mr. Lang, Tianli quickly said. Half an hour later, Xiaochun and the hypnotist appeared at Tianli's company, and Tianli naturally welcomed them warmly in the guest room. Mr. Lang, you're the best, bringing in such a huge profit in just a few days. Tianli wasn't someone who hadn't seen a lot of money before. But to be able to earn so much in just a few days, this speed was not to be underestimated. Haha, it's nothing. If it weren't for Mr. Liu's support, I wouldn't be able to earn this much. Xiaochun waved his hand with a smile. But it's not impossible for us to continue investing. Yes, Mr. Liu, the more you invest, the greater the return. For example, Mr. Liu, if you invest a few 100 million, the return will be even greater. Chui Mianshi seized the opportunity. That's right. Then let's invest 500 million. Let's hope we can earn more. Tianli didn't know what was going on, but he suddenly felt a strong urge to invest. He didn't even think about it. That works too. Then let's sign another contract and continue this business, Xiaochun said. All right, no problem. I'll start raising the money in the next 2 days. Tianli's company didn't earn much after becoming the agent of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, but the cash flow was still very strong. When Lin Yi treated Jinhu, it was a bit hard for House Liu to gather 100 million, but now 500 million wasn't a problem at all. Although most of it was from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, they could still use it once in a while. After all, Lin Yi trusted House Liu a lot. He never checked the accounts before, so Tianli still had a lot of room to maneuver. The contract is still the same as last time, just changing the numbers, Chui Mianshi said as he took out a contract from his bag and passed it to Tianli. Tianli nodded and looked at the contract. It was the same as last time, but the investment amount wasn't confirmed yet. No problem. I'll sign it now and help you raise the money. Tianli nodded and looked at the contract briefly. Since they had worked together many times, Tianli didn't suspect anything and signed the contract right away. In the next few days, Tianli started to raise money for Xiaochun. He used the money from the company to buy the medicine for Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company and some of the money from the customers and transferred it to Mr. Lang's account. With cigarettes, Tianli's life in the future would be very comfortable. He would smoke every day, fantasizing that the 500 million would turn into 1 billion. Who would doubt his ability to expand if that happened? However, in less than 2 days, Xiao Chun called him again. "Mr. Liu, it's me," Xiao Chun said. "Mr. Lang, what's up? How's the organization of our goods?"
Tianli asked.
"The goods are pretty much organized, but there's something else I want to discuss with you. We're going to do it. How about a big one?" Xiao Chun asked. "A big one? What do you mean? How did you make it big?" Tianli paused. "How about this? I'll go with Lil Chui and we'll talk about it at your company,"
Xiao Chun said.
"All right, I'll wait for Mr. Lang's arrival at the company," Tianli said quickly. Chapter 2842. Mr. Lang, what's the plan?
Tianli asked.
"I'll let Chui explain it to you." Xiao Chun gestured to Chui Mianshi. Today was the day to pull in the net, so for safety's sake, Xiao Chun was going to let Chui Mianshi explain. Although Chui Mianshi had been giving Tianli psychological hints all this time, and with Xiao Chun and Tianli building a good relationship with each other with cigarettes, there weren't any flaws that could be exploited. It's like this. Today is the harvest season for that small country, so the price of cigarettes has dropped quite a bit recently. It's around 8,000 yuan per carton. If we use this opportunity to get a lot of them back, even if we can't sell them all at once, we can sell them for a month or so and slowly sell them, and we'll be able to earn more. As Chui Mianshi spoke, he told Tianli the words he had prepared beforehand. Of course, he didn't even need to say much, as he had already used the hypnosis on Tianli's body when he spoke. "So, you're saying that as long as we invest more money, we can earn more money?" Tianli understood what Chui Mianshi meant. "That's right. What do you think, Mr. Liu?" "Our Mr. Lang thinks that it's better to be more stable. Although we can earn more money now, it'll take up a lot of funds. Don't these funds have interest in the bank?" Chui Mianshi said this intentionally, but he used hypnosis to hint to Tianli that taking up funds wasn't a problem as long as they could earn money. "I'm familiar with Miracle Dr. Guan's company, so it's fine to transfer the funds to them later. It's fine to hold the funds for a month or so. It's just that it's a little difficult to gather more funds, so I'll have to wait for the goods to be delivered by Miracle Dr. Guan's company this month. I'll sell them in bulk and wait for the agents and distributors to pay me back. It'll take a few days." Tianli wouldn't be so blind if he was doing other business, but he had smoked this cigarette before. He knew how good it was, and there were many rich people like him who felt the same way. Plus, with Chui Mianshi's hypnosis, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was how to raise money. He didn't even think about doubting anything. "All right, just do as you see fit, Mr. Liu. It'll be great if this business is done, but don't burden Mr. Liu's company. There's no end to the money, and there'll be opportunities in the future," Xiao Chun said, pretending to be generous. "Haha, Mr. Lang, money is definitely not a problem. Since I've agreed, naturally I can get it. Since there's this chance, let's make it big. I'll go prepare now." Tianli didn't say much, rushing to get the money. "All right, then I won't bother you anymore. If there's any good news, please share it with me." Xiao Chun also stood up. "Then I'll leave now. Please continue with your work, Mr. Liu." With his status as the main supplier of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, funds weren't much of a problem for Tianli. As long as he pressed on both sides, he would be able to raise 1 billion. And so, after sending Miao Lang and Chui Mianshi off, Tianli lit a cigarette and started thinking about how to use the company's funds. Today was the 15th day of the Sky Elixir sex test. Only a small number of participants returned to the mountain behind the sect, while most of them stayed here forever. In the 5 Evils Savage Land, the corpses of cultivators could be seen at regular intervals. They were all cultivators killed by spirit beasts. Zhao Qikuan, Feng Shiban, Li Siba, and Gus Xian were all worried. Today was the day they were supposed to leave the 5 fiendish barons, but Lin Yi wasn't back yet. There were still 5 days left, but there was no news for so many days, and there might not be news in the next 5 days. "Boss isn't back yet. What should we do?" Feng Shiban looked at Zhao Qikuan. He was the first one to follow Lin Yi, and he knew Lin Yi's personality the best. So when Feng Shiban asked, Li Siba and Gus Xian looked at Zhao Qikuan as well. "Let's wait another 2 days. If boss isn't back in 2 days, we'll go to the teleportation formation and leave this place first, Zhao Qikuan said after some hesitation. He knew Lin Yi's personality very well. If Lin Yi was in trouble, then they'd be a burden to Lin Yi if they stayed here. Plus, there was 5 fiendish qi in the 5 fiendish barons. After 15 days, the qi would invade the practitioner's body, and once it reached 20 days, it would exceed the endurance of a normal practitioner. If they didn't leave soon, the qi would cause them to lose consciousness or even go crazy. And so, there was no point in waiting here. If they were infected by the 5 fiendish qi, then Lin Yi would have to think of a way to save them. So, they might as well leave first. That's not good, is it? Without boss, we'd be in danger. We might even die here. Li Siba respected Lin Yi the most. Lin Yi had avenged his sect members. If it weren't for Lin Yi being his boss, Li Siba would have seen Naipeo as an enemy. He was different from other people. Even if Naipeo didn't kill him, he wouldn't let him stay in a safe place. Siba, you've misunderstood me. Boss means what he says. If we keep waiting here, the qi will invade our bodies, and it'll be even more troublesome for him to save us. Boss is strong, and if he can't handle it, then we can't either. Boss told us to leave when the test ends, and that's today. We'll wait for 2 more days. If boss doesn't come back by then we'll leave first, Qikuan explained.
All right.
Feng Shiyan understood what Qikuan meant. He nodded and said to Siba, Brother Qikuan is right. Boss is strong, and we won't be of much help here. We might drag him down instead. Chapter 2843. I've observed it for a while. Spirit beasts are less active at night. If I'm not wrong, the 5 evils qi is more concentrated here at night, which is good for spirit beasts to cultivate. Therefore, they rarely move around at night. Even if they see human cultivators, as long as they don't provoke them, there shouldn't be a problem. Gu Xian was an observant. It was impossible to sell information in the ancient world without good observations. He would notice a lot of things that others wouldn't. He'd been observing the spirit beast's movements for the past few days, and he'd come up with this pattern. But it's not like this for the entire night. It's just that between 2 to 4 in the morning, there's no spirit beast in front of the safe area. Oh, is that so? Feng Shiyan was overjoyed. Gu Xian, you're really well informed. You've even noticed this pattern? Normal practitioners wouldn't be able to notice the pattern of the spirit beast's movements under such a stressful situation. Even the Sky Elixir sect didn't know. After all, no one could predict the pattern of the spirit beast's movements. Before the spirit beasts went berserk, there was no pattern to their action. They'd train when they wanted, rest when they wanted, attack when they wanted. But now it was different. They'd go berserk every day to search for practitioners, but they couldn't go berserk for 24 hours. They had to rest and train, and this time was between 2 to 4 in the morning, as Gu Xian had discovered. I'm ashamed. I only confirmed it last night. After all, I wasn't sure about my guess before. Gu Xian spread her hands and said, with our speed, we should be able to reach the teleportation array in 2 hours. After all, this place is not far from the teleportation array, so we don't need to leave 3 days in advance. We can leave 2 days in advance and wait for another day. All right, we'll wait 3 days then. Qikuan nodded. Let's confirm the pattern again. Below the cliffs of the 5 Fiends mountain range, Lin Yi had been fishing and grilling for Chi-Chi these days. He'd given up on finding a way out. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, was getting quieter and quieter, especially as the end of the test drew nearer. Lin Yi, today's the 15th day of the test. Do you think we can't get out? Chi-Chi took the fish from Lin Yi and put it into her mouth mechanically. Even if we can't get out, isn't it good to live here? Lin Yi explained with a smile. In fact, Lin Yi was also very anxious, but there was no use in being anxious when there was no other way. Haha, don't try to comfort me. We'll all die if we stay here for more than 20 days. Chi-Chi smiled bitterly. I don't have much experience in society, and I'm a little dumb, but I know that the rules are real. Lin Yi smiled. I don't have much experience in society, and I'm a little dumb, but I know that the rules are real. Lin Yi's heart sank as well. The five fiends' chi wasn't a problem for Lin Yi, but it wasn't for Chi-Chi. Without a choice, Lin Yi entered the jade space. Oi, I say, senior ghost, do you have any good ideas for me to get out of here? Lin Yi got straight to the point. The thing stayed in the corner, not answering Lin Yi. Oi, I know you're still awake. Answer me now, or you won't be able to train if I die here. This jade space is bound to me, and if I die, the jade space might disappear. Lin Yi threatened. You won't die. The five fiends' chi here isn't harmful to you. In fact, it's useful. The five fiends' chi isn't as pure as the energy in the jade space, but you can still use it for training. The thing finally spoke. Can't you just disturb me? It's very hard for me to go into hibernation. That's not for sure. What if the five fiends' chi enters my body? There are always accidents, and even if there aren't any accidents, there's no point in me living here alone. I might even kill myself. Lin Yi threatened. Oh, if you really don't want to live, I can't do anything about it. Then I'll leave the space of the jade pendant. I've said it before, although the five evils chi here is not as pure as in your space, I can still cultivate. The ghostly thing said unhurriedly. Think carefully before you die. Okay, I'm begging you. Is there any way for me to get out? Lin Yi saw that his threats didn't work, so he could only coax and pester it. There's really no way. The thing shook its head. How about you call a flying spirit beast, and I'll communicate with it to see if it can take you up. Lin Yi was speechless. Where can I call it? There's no spirit beast around here? Then there's nothing I can do. I'll continue to go into hibernation. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. The thing said to Lin Yi and disappeared. Jiao Lao. Lin Yi looked at Jiao Yazi. There's nothing I can do, but you should practice more. When you become a heavenly path master, maybe my memory will recover, and I can call a flying saucer. Maybe then I can take you up. Jiao Yazi said. Heavenly path flying saucer. Lin Yi's face was dark as he returned to reality. What are you doing? Chi-Chi had been bored out of her mind these past couple of days. She looked at Lin Yi sitting there like an idiot. Are you practicing?
No.
Lin Yi shook his head. I'm trying to think of a way to get out. Then have you thought of a way? Chi-Chi asked. Not yet. Lin Yi shook his head and handed the fish to Chi-Chi. Here, the last one. It's done. Eat it. Oh. Chi-Chi took the fish and started eating. After that, she sat on the ground and looked around, not knowing what to do. Suddenly, she saw the bones she'd eaten before and started arranging them on the ground. Everyone knew how to eat fish, but it really took a lot of effort to arrange all the fish bones in order after eating the fish. The big bones in the middle were easy. As long as they were not damaged, they could be placed there directly. However, the bones on the back and belly of the fish were small and messy, so it was much more difficult to arrange them in order. Chapter 2844. Lin Yi paused as he watched Chi-Chi arrange the bones. He fell into his memories. Back when he was young, his Shifu had given him a question like this to train his memory and observation skills. After eating the fish, they'd have to put the bones back, and it was a test every year. But all of this was etched into the depths of Lin Yi's memories that would last forever. His master had left, and Lin Yi didn't know where he went. Lin Yi didn't go back to the fish bones either, because he didn't need to train his memory and observation skills like this anymore, and also because he was slowly stepping onto the path of a practitioner, leaving behind his days as an assassin. Looking at all of this, Lin Yi was filled with emotions as he stared at Chi-Chi. As if he was back in his childhood, Lin Yi wasn't surprised that Chi-Chi knew how to put the bones back together. Chi-Chi came from that assassin organization after all, and this kind of training should be common. It was just that Chi-Chi was a little rusty, and it seemed like she hadn't done it in years. Chi-Chi focused on putting the bones back together, and it wasn't just Lin Yi. Chi-Chi felt like she was back in her childhood as well. People would always reminisce when they were in despair. It was normal, and Chi-Chi was the same. Before she knew it, half an hour had passed. In the past, Chi-Chi only needed a few minutes to put a set of bones together, but it was different. Sometimes she needed half a day to think about it. Chi-Chi picked up a bone, put it back down, and picked it up again. She wasn't sure what to do. This was a similar bone. There was a fish's back and belly, and the length and thickness were about the same. Chi-Chi frowned and started thinking. After a while, Chi-Chi finally put her hand down and put the bone back on the belly. This is the bone on the fish's back. I've told you the difference so many times. How come you don't remember? Linny didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he watched Chi-Chi's actions, but something wasn't right. The person in front of him was Yang Chi-Chi, not his childhood playmate and team member, Yang Xiao. Once upon a time, his Shifu's daughter, Yang Xiao, would always get this bone wrong, and so Lin Yi would always correct her, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Ah! Chi-Chi paused, her eyes blurry as she raised her head. It was only then that she realized it was Lin Yi. At that moment, she even thought that Lin Yi was that person. What did you just say? Nothing. I said you spelled it wrong. This fish bone should be placed here, Lin Yi said as he pointed at the back of the fish. How did you know? Chi-Chi was a little puzzled, but she was lost in her memories and didn't hear what Lin Yi was saying. Or maybe she was hallucinating. I've done it before, Lin Yi said. Oh, thanks. Chi-Chi put the bone back on the back of the fish. I didn't think that you'd do something so boring. Boring, huh? Lin Yi was considering if he should tell her that he was from that assassin organization as well. He and Chi-Chi weren't that close before, but after so many encounters, they'd been through thick and thin together. Lin Yi wasn't worried about Chi-Chi's character at all. This girl might be a bit of a bitch, but she wasn't a blabbermouth. Plus, Lin Yi was planning on going to the island where he trained after this test was over. He wanted to see Xiao Qi and Xiao Jiu. But Lin Yi wasn't sure if he'd be able to get out of this test, and he was a little troubled. He wasn't in the mood to talk about these things right now. Fish bones can train one's memory and observation skills. You've been an assassin before? Chi-Chi paused. Every practitioner is an assassin. In the world of practitioners, today's friend is tomorrow's enemy. If you don't have sharp instincts, you won't even know how you died. Lin Yi smiled. Just like sometimes, when you're kind enough to save someone, that person turns around and tries to kill you. Ew. Lin Yi, stop saying stuff like that. I told you I wouldn't kill you. Chi-Chi's face was red and embarrassed. I was just giving an example. I wasn't talking about you. Lin Yi said innocently. That's not what I said. Chi-Chi denied. Haha. Lin Yi laughed. What are you laughing at? Chi-Chi asked. Nothing, I think you look like a friend of mine. Lin Yi was telling the truth. In that moment, Lin Yi had a feeling that Chi-Chi was his childhood playmate, Yang Xiao. It was just a feeling. After all, it had been so many years, Lin Yi couldn't remember what Xiao looked like anymore. The Xiao now was probably training hard, preparing to inherit her father's position as the king of assassins. There was no way she'd risk her life to enter the world of practitioners for some test. The two shared the same surname, but this generation of disciples were mostly orphans. They all took on their master's surname. It wasn't strange at all. What a lame excuse. Chi-Chi rolled her eyes at Lin Yi. How's this pick up? I know you from the start, all right? Lin Yi was a little speechless. I'm just telling the truth. You don't think I'm going after you, do you? That's hard to say. There's only the two of us here. If we really can't get out, who would you go after if not me? There aren't even any spirit beasts here. Chi-Chi was joking. After all, this place was too boring, and she'd accepted Lin Yi in her heart. Her hostility towards Lin Yi was gone. Haha, if we really can't get out, I'll think about it, Lin Yi said. No, I already have a prince on a white horse in my heart. I'd rather die than submit, Chi-Chi said. Then haven't you heard of forcing yourself on someone? Lin Yi asked. If you're not afraid that I'll kill you, do what you want, Chi-Chi said. Haha. Lin Yi chuckled and looked at the sky. It was already nighttime. Let's get some rest. I need to train. Okay. Chi-Chi didn't hesitate and laid down on the ground, getting ready to sleep. She wasn't on guard against Lin Yi at all. With Lin Yi's strength, there was no way she could defend against him if he wanted to. It was just like what Lin Yi said, she could force herself on him. Chapter 28:45. Although on the 16th day, the cultivators who remained in the training ground did not directly fall unconscious or suffer from chi deviation, they all showed varying degrees of weakness and dizziness. These were signs that the five evils chi had entered their bodies. They had to leave the five evil savage land as soon as possible before the 20th day. After leaving, the five evils chi in their bodies would slowly dissipate. Once the 20th day passed, they would fall unconscious or suffer from chi deviation, and the five evils chi in their bodies would not automatically dissipate. Chikuin and the other three were all experiencing these two situations. Chikuin and Li Siba were sky class, so they weren't as bad as this. Chikuin had it the worst, followed by Guxian. Chikuin, if we really can't do it, let's just leave tonight. I see that your situation is the worst, and I'm afraid that you won't be able to hold on. If something really happens to you, boss will be very worried. Shipian said. Let's hold on for another day. I can still do it, but if boss doesn't come back tomorrow, we'll leave. Chikuin said, after some hesitation. All right. Shipian nodded. At the bottom of the Five Malice Mountains, Chi-Chi was experiencing the same thing as well. Her situation was even worse than Chikuin's. She was weaker than Chikuin in the first place, and while her level was higher, at Mystic Late Phase peak, her defense was much weaker than Chikuin's. Plus, this was the mountain range with the densest chi in the Five Malice Barrens, or else the Five Malice Dragon wouldn't be able to rule this place. Lin Yi, it's been 15 days, and today is the 16th. I'm feeling a little dizzy, and I don't have any strength. Did the Five Malice chi enter my body? Chi-Chi's spirit was clearly a lot weaker. Should be, but don't worry, there's always a way out. Who knows, there might be other ways. Lin Yi said as he stood up. I'll go catch some small fishes for you to replenish your strength. Although Lin Yi didn't ask if Chi-Chi was Yang Xiao, Lin Yi knew that she was here to get medicine for little Gio, so he was very concerned about her. And thank you. Chi-Chi smiled, suddenly thinking that it would be nice to have Lin Yi by her side before she died. She thought that Lin Yi was a pervert, but now it seemed that Lin Yi wasn't like that at all. He was a good person. If her heart had not been occupied by another person, perhaps she would have fallen in love with him. At that thought, all the good things about Lin Yi popped up in Chi-Chi's mind. He carried Xiao to the Ice Palace for the test, going through all that trouble just to get medicine for his girlfriend. How touching was that? And he had helped her time and time again without asking for anything in return. No wonder that Xiaoka girl liked him so much. He really had a lot of good points. In the blink of an eye, Lin Yi was back from fishing. He went fishing every day, and Lin Yi was familiar with the routine. He started grilling fish for Chi-Chi as soon as he got back. Thank you. Chi-Chi didn't know how else to express her feelings other than thanking him. She took the fish and started eating. But today, Chi-Chi clearly didn't have the energy she had yesterday. She laid on the side to rest after eating the fish, feeling dizzy. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was eating the fish bones out of boredom. Even if Lin Yi was in a hurry, there was nothing he could do. He wasn't Zhang Naipeo, and he couldn't absorb the Five Malice chi from Chi-Chi's body. Chi-Chi wasn't a spiritual practitioner, either, and he couldn't help her refine or expel the Five Malice chi from her body. That damn thing was right. The chi of Five's wrath didn't harm Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi was no different from when he'd first entered the training grounds, full of energy. At the back mountain of the Sky Elixir sect, Zhao Chikuan, Feng Shipian, Li Siba, and Gu Xian successfully made it to the portal according to Gu Xian's deductions. They came back safely, and a Sky Elixir sect disciple came up to check them. You four, please go to the 8th elder to hand over the medicine and register your name. Kong Mingming looked at the four, and his heart jumped when he saw Chikuan. Wasn't this Lin Yi's follower? Why was he out but Lin Yi didn't come out? Could it be that Zhang Naipeo killed him? At the thought, Kong Mingming felt refreshed. It seemed that putting his hopes on Zhang Naipeo was the right decision. Otherwise, why wouldn't Lin Yi come out? It was already the 17th day of the test, and even Lin Yi's follower had come out. There was no reason for Lin Yi not to come out. But Kong Mingming was puzzled. Why wasn't Zhang Naipeo out? Could it be that he died with Lin Yi? But he didn't care about Naipeo's life. If he died, then so be it. Foam Shipian, from the ancient house Foam, successfully obtained 1 medicine. Li Siba, from the ancient godly Fist Palace, successfully obtained 1 medicine. Go Xian, freelancer, successfully obtained 1 medicine. Zhao Qikuan, from the hidden house Zhao, successfully obtained 1 medicine. The first 3 had gotten the medicine and passed the test without a problem, but Zhao Qikuan, a mystic who was hiding his strength, had passed as well. It was a mystery. So far, he was the first person to pass the test with such a low level of strength. But, seeing that the 4 came out together, the Sky Elixir sect people weren't too surprised. Originally, the 4 of them only had 2 spiritual herbs, which were obtained from the 2 disciples of the Dark Knight Palace. However, along the way, they were lucky enough to see 2 cultivators who had been killed by spirit beasts. On their corpses, they found 2 more spiritual herbs, so each of the 4 of them had 1. After registering, the 4 could go back to the Sky Elixir Inn and wait for the final reward. After the 20 days, the reward would be given out. Although there was a large group of Heavenly Elixir sect disciples standing beside the teleportation array, there was actually a simple palace behind them. This was where the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Sky Silkworm Transformation, was temporarily staying. Even Kong Mingming didn't think that Sky Silkworm would come out personally. After registering the names of Feng Shipian and the others, Xiaolong hurried to Sky Silkworm's palace and knocked carefully. "Young master, it's me, Ming." Chapter 2846. Yes, young sect master. Little Peach quickly opened the door for Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming followed Little Peach into Sky's Silkworm Transformation's room. "Little Ming, it's past 4 in the morning. Why are there challengers coming out of the teleportation array?" Sky Silkworm Transformation obviously did not rest. His eyes were bloodshot, and he looked a little haggard. 4 cultivators successfully passed the trial and brought back the trial elixir. Kong Mingming quickly took out the record book and handed it to Sky Silkworm Transformation. "Young sect master, this is the list of those 4 people." "Oh, let me see." Sky Silkworm Transformation took the record book from Kong Mingming and took a look. After seeing the names on it, his face was a little disappointed. He did not say anything and no one knew what he was thinking. Kong Mingming did not dare to make a sound and waited carefully by the side. "It's been 18 days. He still hasn't come out." Sky Silkworm Transformation muttered to himself and returned the record book to Kong Mingming. "Young sect master, what did you say? Who didn't come out?" Kong Mingming did not hear what Sky Silkworm Transformation said clearly and asked quickly. "Nothing." Sky Silkworm Transformation shook his head and said, "I'm tired. I need to rest for a while. Little Ming, you can leave first. If anyone comes out, tell me immediately." "Yes, young sect master." Kong Mingming nodded and smiled. "Young sect master, are you tired? I'll give you another massage." With that said, Kong Mingming was about to grab Sky Silkworm Transformation's shoulders. During this period, he felt that he had become very familiar with Sky Silkworm Transformation. He often massaged Sky Silkworm Transformation, so he did not need to ask for instructions. Although Sky Silkworm Transformation did not seem to be in a good mood today, Kong Mingming did not care.
Slap.
A crisp, ear-piercing sound. Before Kong Mingming could touch Sky Silkworm Transformation's shoulders, Sky Silkworm Transformation slapped Kong Mingming's face.
Ah!
Kong Mingming was shocked. He covered his cheeks with his hands. The teeth inside had been knocked out. Although it was painful, it also made him feel a little inexplicable. He said vaguely with grievance, "Young master, why did you hit Little Ming?" Little Peach was also stunned. Wasn't Kong Mingming massaging her all this time? Why did he suddenly hit Kong Mingming today? "What massage?" "Little Ming, remember your status," Tionkin said angrily.
Ah!
Kong Mingming was dumbfounded. What happened? Could it be that the Heavenly Silkworm Transformation lost its memories? Why was it that he could massage in the past but not today? Not only did he not give her a massage, He even slapped her and said that she was impolite. If he was impolite, why didn't he say so in the past? Why did you only tell me today? Kong Ming was very depressed, but he also understood a principle. Little Peach was right. Being with a king was like being with a tiger. How could he reason with the young master? If he wanted to hit, then hit. Whatever he said, he didn't dare to refute. Yes, young master, I'm sorry. I was impulsive. Kong Ming covered his cheeks and was about to cry. Forget it, you can leave. Sky Silkworm Transformation also felt that her reaction was too strong. Looking at Kong Ming's aggrieved expression, Sky Silkworm Transformation's heart moved slightly. Could it be that her brother had let him massage her before? Otherwise, with Kong Ming's personality, he wouldn't dare to do such a daring thing. Thinking of this, Sky Silkworm Transformation suddenly felt that she had misunderstood Kong Ming. This guy was really unlucky. However, as the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect, Sky Silkworm Transformation's dignity was necessary. At this moment, she didn't have the slightest bit of sympathy. She closed her eyes and let Little Peach take Kong Ming away. After Peach left the room, Sky Silkworm Transformation opened her eyes again. What was wrong with her? Why did she care about him so much? Was it because they had fought side by side, and they were friends through thick and thin? Or was it because he was the first man to touch her body? If Linny were here, he'd be able to recognize that Sky Silkworm Transformation was the yellow-clothed girl from the test, Tian-chan. She was Sky Silkworm Transformation's older sister and the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect. During the few days she'd been in the test, the position of the young master had been temporarily given to her brother Sky Silkworm Transformation, but from the looks of it, it hadn't been very successful. He'd actually let Kong Ming massage him? Tian-chan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. After she'd passed the test, she'd changed into Sky Silkworm Transformation again and moved into the palace. Her goal here was actually to secretly check if Zhang Naipeo had passed the test. Zhang Naipeo was a very important person to the Five Elements sect and to that plan in the future. That was why Tian-chan had been paying attention to him all this time. But now, Tian-chan seemed to be paying more attention to Ling Yi's news, and Zhang Naipeo's news wasn't that important. If this had been in the past, Tian-chan would have definitely put that plan as her priority. That was her mission, and the mission of the Sky Elixir sect's rise. The Five Elements sect had already promised her that as long as that plan succeeded, all the remaining power of the Five Elements sect would belong to the Sky Elixir sect, and that Sky Elixir sect would become the #1 sect in the world of practitioners. For the dreams of her father and grandpa, Tian-chan had sacrificed herself. But now, Tian-chan suddenly felt that it was all so unreal, but she couldn't escape it. Her life was already going according to that plan, and there was no way to change it. Tian-chan touched her chest, her face slightly reddening. There was a special feeling, and that moment of heartbeat was something that she missed. But from now on, she wouldn't have anything to do with Lin Yi anymore. Even if she did, it would be as the young master of the Sky Elixir sect, and not as Tian-chan. At that time, he and I might already be standing on the opposite side of each other. With that thought, Tian-chan was a little dejected. She, in front of him, would never admit that she was Tian-chan again. She had to be strong. Tian-chan had only appeared in the test, and when she returned to the Sky Elixir sect, she had to be a Sky Silkworm Transformation cultivator. She had to shoulder this responsibility. Kong Ming and Little Peach went out of the courtyard together. Kong Ming's face was still swollen, but he didn't dare to take the small rejuvenation pill, so he could only bear it. Seeing this, Little Peach felt a little distressed. Brother Kong, why don't you take a small rejuvenation pill? We have it in the Sky Elixir sect, and you can refine it yourself. How could I dare to eat the young master's pill? Kong Ming smiled bitterly and said, Little Peach, you're right. The young master's temper is unpredictable. I guess he's in a bad mood today, and I'm unlucky. Yes, Brother Kong. You have to be careful in the future. Otherwise, once you fall out of favor, how can you marry me? Little Peach was also a little worried. Chapter 28:47. N. Little Peach looked at Kong Ming Ming with misty eyes. Big brother Kong, you're so nice. Kong Ming Ming didn't dare to stay any longer. He quickly returned to the teleportation array. After all, he was the managing elder here. He chatted with Little Peach for a while and ran back. Tian-chan let her imagination run wild for a while. She didn't expect to hear footsteps at the door of the courtyard. This time they didn't knock on the door. Instead, they pushed the door open and entered. The door of the courtyard wasn't locked, but ordinary Heavenly Elixir sect disciples and elders didn't dare to push the door open casually. Tian-chan quickly opened her eyes and stood up to greet them. Those who could enter like this must be important people. Sure enough, the people who came were Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xianchen. Tian-chan wasn't unfamiliar with Patriarch Xianzhen, but Tian-chan wasn't very familiar with Patriarch Xianchen. At this time, Patriarch Xuanchen's sudden appearance made her heart tighten slightly. Only a few people knew about her relationship with Patriarch Xianzhen. This matter had always been hidden from Patriarch Xianzhen. Of course, Tian-chan didn't know that when she went to participate in the trial, Patriarch Xianchen had already pointed out to Patriarch Xianzhen that he knew that Tian-chan was Patriarch Xianzhen's disciple. He also knew about Patriarch Xianzhen's connections in Heavenly Elixir sect. Tian-chan and Tian-huan usually listened to Patriarch Xianchen on the surface, but secretly, they still respected Patriarch Xianzhen as their master. However, some things could only be hidden. Otherwise, not only would she and her brother Tian-huan be unlucky, but Patriarch Xianzhen would also be unlucky. Tian-chan greets Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xianchen. Tian-chan carefully bowed and greeted. Tian-chan called them Master and Uncle Master. Patriarch Xianzhen waved his hand. He thought that some things were done secretly, but he didn't expect that it couldn't be hidden from Patriarch Xianchen. Therefore, there was no need to hide the master-disciple relationship between him and Tian-chan. Yes. Tian-chan was shocked. As expected, Patriarch Xianchen knew about it. However, she was the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect after all. She bowed again calmly and said, "Greetings, Master and Martial Uncle. Don't stand on ceremony." Ancestor Xianchen didn't dwell on this matter anymore and waved his hand. He was currently the temporary leader of the Five Elements sect, so although Tian-chan was Ancestor Xuanchen's disciple, Xuanchen's words had the most weight. "Sit down. I have already brought the Five Elements sect's ancestral physique test ball. Place your hand on it and check if the inheritance is successful." In Patriarch Xuanchen's eyes, Tian-chan was merely a chess piece. His standard for judging others was whether they were useful to him. If they were useless, he would kick them away. Yes. Tian-chan sat on the floor of the living room as instructed. Patriarch Xianchen took out a box and took out a round bead from it. He placed it in front of Tian-chan and said, "It's not your first time taking the test. Try it again." "Yes." Tian-chan quickly reached out and placed her hand on the physique test ball. In an instant, 5 lights appeared on the bead. 4 of the lights were particularly bright, but one of the lights was a little dim. The middle of the light was hollow. If Lin Yi was here, he would definitely be very surprised that the Five Elements sect actually had such a bead to test physique. As for Tian-chan, she really had 4 real attributes and 1 virtual attribute.
What?
She actually didn't accept the inheritance of the origin power, and she even has 4 real attributes. Patriarch Xuanchen's expression suddenly changed, and Tian-chan was also shocked at this moment. Her own inheritance of the origin power actually failed? Tian-chan, didn't you say that you've already set up the 5 evils origin power in the 5 evils mountain range in the cave? Patriarch Xuanchen's expression was also solemn. He quickly asked, "This time, the preparations were so appropriate, and you also took the bone and marrow cleansing pill. How did you fail?" "Yes, could it be that something else happened when you accepted the inheritance?" Patriarch Xianchen asked. This. Tian-chan was shocked. She subconsciously thought of Lin Yi, but if she told the truth, She was afraid that even if this matter had nothing to do with Lin Yi, with Patriarch Xuanqin's personality, he would most likely vent his anger on Lin Yi. Although he couldn't do anything to Lin Yi because of Boss Bai, it was still possible that he would secretly do something bad. What's wrong? Did something really happen? Patriarch Xuanqin raised his eyebrows and asked. After I finished the preliminary preparations, I was about to accept the inheritance, but the Five Evils dragon came back. Tian-chan hesitated for a moment and said,
What?
After you finished the preparations, the Five Evils dragon came back? Patriarch Xuanqin was slightly stunned. He frowned and said, That shouldn't be. Logically speaking, with so many Earth rank and above cultivators entering the Five Evils savage land at once, the Five Evils dragon would definitely be alarmed, and he would be lured out of the cave. He would then make some arrangements for all the spirit beasts in the Five Evils savage land and give orders to fight against these Earth rank cultivators together. How could the Five Evils dragon return so quickly? It turned out that this time, the change in the rules of the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial was caused by Patriarch Xuanqin of the Five Element Sect. Everything was to allow Tian-chan to smoothly accept the inheritance. The Five Evils savage land was the territory of the spirit beasts. If human cultivators entered, they would naturally be regarded as enemies. However, after thousands of years of testing by the Heavenly Elixir Sect, they discovered that cultivators below the Earth rank were the limit that the spirit beasts could accept. Although it was dangerous for cultivators of the Yellow rank and the Profound rank to enter the Five Evils savage land to take the trial elixir, it was only because they accidentally encountered the spirit beasts. They would not let the spirit beasts chase and attack them. In other words, the spirit beasts in the Five Evils savage land looked down on cultivators of this level. Although they did not welcome their arrival, they would not mobilize a large force to chase and kill them. However, once the cultivators who entered the Five Evils savage land were above the Earth rank, then these cultivators would be regarded as invaders. The Five Evils dragon would then be lured out to give orders to all the spirit beasts in the Five Evils savage land to kill these cultivators together to protect their territory from the invasion of human cultivators. This time, in order to lure the Five Evils dragon out of the cave to give orders, Patriarch Xuanqin did not hesitate to sacrifice the lives of so many cultivators above the Earth rank. It was enough to show that he was a cruel and merciless person. It was not an exaggeration to have a vicious daughter like Little 11. Even his daughter was not as vicious as him. Chapter 2848. After the sound-type flying spirit beast flew into the sky, it released sound waves to transmit the command of the Dragon of Five Evils. When other sound-type flying spirit beasts heard it, they would also spread out at the same time. Therefore, it did not take long for all the spirit beasts in the entire savage land of Five Evils to receive the command of the Dragon of Five Evils and began to chase after cultivators. This was also the reason why cultivators were lying dead in the wilderness. Of course, spiritual beasts also had spiritual intelligence. In order to intimidate human cultivators, the Dragon of Five Evils would kill cultivators on a regular basis. Every day, it would only kill 2 cultivators above Earth rank as a warning. Every time a spirit beast killed a cultivator above the Earth stage, the nearby flying spirit beasts that were good at transmitting sound waves would fly into the sky and spread the news with sound waves. After the 2 cultivators were killed, all the spirit beasts stopped killing cultivators above the Earth stage. Instead, they started to chase and threaten them. At 2 o'clock every night, they would all go to bed together. Gu Xian did not understand the language of the spirit beasts, so he did not discover this pattern. However, he discovered the pattern of the spirit beasts' rest after that. In fact, this pattern was also the result of many years of exploration by the Heavenly Elixir Sect. This was also the reason why the number of people was estimated in the beginning. I'm not sure either. When I was ready to accept the inheritance of the origin energy, the Dragon of Five Evils suddenly returned. Then, I exchanged a few blows with it, and the inheritance began, Tian-chan said. After that, I was in a very mysterious state, and the Dragon of Five Evils was the same. The 2 of us were in harmony, and we did not attack each other again, In that case, the dragon of 5 evils must have swallowed the origin energy. If the human cultivators did not successfully accept the inheritance of the origin energy, then the dragon of 5 evils would definitely swallow this power. Spirit beasts are different from humans. As long as no one fights with it, it will absorb the origin energy. Patriarch Xianchen nodded his head in disappointment and said, "Did the dragon of 5 evils fall asleep after accepting the origin energy? Then you left?" Tian-chan was slightly stunned. Would the dragon of 5 evils fall asleep after successfully accepting the origin energy? She wasn't sure, but it made sense that she could leave safely. Otherwise, how could she leave safely in the cave of the 5 evils dragon? She did not want to tell Gu Shizhou about Lin Yi, which gave her an excuse. "I left after that, but the dragon of 5 evils didn't chase after me, so I'm not sure if it had fallen asleep. Forget it. None of this is important." "You didn't succeed in accepting the inheritance." Patriarch Black Earth frowned. At this moment, Tian-chan was no longer as important to him. He had lost his use as a spy. The 5 Devils Mountain Range's origin energy could only be activated once every 500 years. This time, Patriarch Xianchen had calculated the time accurately and used the name of the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial to let Tian-chan accept the inheritance of the origin energy. After another 500 years, it was uncertain what would happen. Even if Tian-chan was an expert at the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage, it was uncertain whether she would still be alive after 500 years. If Patriarch Xianchen did not step into the Heavenly Tao in these 100 years, he might die. Therefore, Tian-chan was of no use at all. But at this moment, Mingzi was crippled by Lin Yi and could not be used for the time being. This made Patriarch Xianchen a little crazy. The 2 most important chess pieces that he had cultivated could not be used. Could it be that all these years of hard work were going to be wasted? He could not accept it. In his heart, he hated Lin Yi to the core. He wanted to strangle Lin Yi, peel off Lin Yi's skin, and drink his blood. Of course, he did not know that it was Lin Yi who had stolen Tian-chan's origin energy inheritance. If he knew, he would probably be so angry that he would directly attack the 5 evils savage land. But even so, he secretly decided in his heart to kill Lin Yi. After Boss Bai lost his use, he would kill both of them together. "Tian-chan, you don't have to be too sad. Things like origin energy inheritance are originally up to fate. We can't do anything about it. You don't have to be too sad." Patriarch Xianchen looked at Tian-chan's disappointed expression and comforted her. In her heart, Tian-chan did not know whether she should be happy or sad. She was happy that she did not need to be used as a chess piece to be sacrificed. After that plan failed, she did not need to pretend to be a heavenly silkworm transformation anymore. She did not need to use the excuse of marrying a concubine. She could restore her identity as Tian-chan. In the past, Tian-chan did not care much about whether she was a man or a woman. Whether it was a man or a woman, she was the young master of the Heavenly Elixir Sect. As long as she could develop the Heavenly Elixir Sect, it was fine. But now, she hoped that she was a girl. This psychological change changed overnight. After returning from the Heavenly Elixir Sect's trial, Tian-chan's thought became stronger and stronger. Of course, reason told her that now was not the time. Even if she did not accept the inheritance, it would not work. As long as Taganlong was not dead, there was still hope. She had to maintain the lie that she was a heavenly silkworm transformation man. She also had to maintain the lie that she was a pervert who wanted to marry a concubine. The sad thing was that Tian-chan did not know where her future was. Even if she restored her identity as Tian-chan, so what? If that plan failed, the Heavenly Elixir Sect would still be a subsidiary of the 5-Element Sect. Even if Patriarch Xianchen died, his disciple would still inherit his will and work hard for that goal. The Heavenly Elixir Sect would still fully support her. And, "I'm sorry, but I will continue to practice alchemy." Tian-chan sighed and said, "After so many years, it seems that practicing alchemy won't work. You have the inheritance of the origin, and it is different from the inheritor's comprehension inheritance. There is a fundamental difference between the two. You cannot obtain the inheritance of the origin of the wood element from the herbs, and comprehension inheritance has no effect on you. Patriarch Xianchun waved his hand. In your body, there are 4 true elements that form a cycle. The only thing you lack is the wood element. I used the Wanyan Spring Elixir to make up for the wood element, and I used the Bone Washing Elixir to purify the wood element. Even so, you still haven't accepted the wood element inheritance of the 5 evils' origin. It seems that it is fate. Among the 5 elements and 7 elements, 6 of them had the source of inheritance. Only the wood element did not. The legendary Wanyan Spring Forest was gone, and even the Wanyan Spring Wood was extinct. So, if one wanted to become the inheritor of the wood element, they had to start with another alternative method. This was the result of Patriarch Zhang's years of research. Coming into contact with herbs every day, it was possible to comprehend the wood element inheritance. Chapter 2849. This was like an epiphany. After the epiphany, there would no longer be a barrier to leveling up. As for the origin energy, it was received from the source of the origin energy. This could not be obtained from herbs. It seems like we can only find another cultivator with all 5 attributes. Or, we can create another cultivator with all 5 attributes. Patriarch Xianzhen was also a little disappointed. Although he felt that it was very dangerous for Tianchan to do that, and he did not want his disciple to take the risk, he still chose to agree for the sake of the sect's grand plan. Now, Tianchan could not continue to be the most important part of the plan. He felt a little melancholy. After all, she was the hope of the sect. How hard is it to find a cultivator with all 5 attributes? It took a lot of effort to find Tagendragon, and it is not easy to create another cultivator with all 5 attributes. Patriarch Xianchun said, "Unless we find a cultivator with all 3 attributes of wood, metal, and earth." Patriarch Xianzhen was a little silent after hearing Patriarch Xuanchun's words. Yes, how difficult was it to find a cultivator with all 3 attributes? After Tianchan opened the inheritance of the 5 evils' origin energy, there was no place to receive the inheritance of the origin energy for the time being. Therefore, one had to have the true attribute of wood. There was no way to create a virtual attribute for the metal and earth attributes through elixirs. Although there were elixir recipes for the 2 types of elixirs that could change one's physique, some of the ingredients were extinct and could not be refined at all. Therefore, one had to also have the metal and earth attributes. As for the other water and fire attributes, one could create virtual attributes and then go to the source of these 2 attributes to receive the inheritance. The elixir materials for the water attribute had also been lost, but they could be replaced by the Ice Heart Jade Bone elixir. They could go to the Ice Palace to receive the inheritance of the ice origin energy in place of the water attribute. As for the fire attribute, they needed to go to the Blazing Mountain in the Hakanamata Desert to receive the inheritance of the origin energy. However, although triple elemental cultivators were not as rare as quadruple elemental and quintuple elemental cultivators, there were very few cultivators with these 3 elemental attributes. Patriarch Xianchun had yet to discover them. Otherwise, Tianchan would not be the only spy. Given Patriarch Xuanchun's character, he would definitely create a few more spies to be used at any time. Mystic True Patriarch sighed and said, "Sigh, I'd better research how to cure the Tagan Dragon. Yes, I'll have to trouble second senior brother with this matter." Patriarch Xianchun said hurriedly. Xianzhen Ancestor waved his hand and said, "However, you should also pay attention to the cultivators of these 3 elements. Otherwise, this plan will be difficult to carry out." Of course, the elder nodded and looked at Tianchan. "Right. Where's Zhang Naipeo? He has successfully passed the trial and is out, right?"
Not yet.
Tianchan shook her head. "I wanted to report this to Master and Uncle as well. I followed Master's orders and reverted to my silkworm form, waiting for Zhang Naipeo here, but he still hasn't come out." "What? Zhang Naipeo still hasn't come out?" The elder was shocked. Although he had been suppressing the everyday and everyday sect all these years, he didn't want them to grow too big. The 5 Elements sect wanted to stabilize their position as the leader of the training world. not to kill them all. Zhang Naipeo was the most important part of the plan, and this was also why the elder asked Tianchan to instruct Kong Mingming to take care of Zhang Naipeo. No one wanted anything to happen to Zhang Naipeo. Although Zhang Naipeo could be replaced in other ways, without him, the danger of the inheritor would increase greatly, so it was best for Zhang Naipeo to be safe. Yes, Elder 8 Kong Mingming just reported to me the list of cultivators who passed the trial. Tianchan shook her head. It's been 18 days. I hope nothing goes wrong. The elder sighed and said, Tianchan, if there's news of Zhang Naipeo, let us know at any time. Yes, uncle. Tianchan said carefully. The two elders didn't stay for long and went to rest somewhere else. Tianchan, on the other hand, was waiting anxiously for Kong Mingming's news, 5 Fiends Mountain Range. Skybolt Pig waited for 15 days, and on the 18th day, there was still no one coming. He started to panic. The 5 Fiends dragon didn't bother with Pig, but the pig was still restless. Finally, he couldn't take it anymore and decided to go down the mountain. These days, he had seen the 5 Fiends dragon giving orders to the spirit beasts in the 5 Fiends Barrens. This gave him a good idea. If he could find a golden-class flying spirit beast, he could order it to save Lin Yi as a mystic late-phase peak spirit beast. Wouldn't that work? And so, once the pig made up his mind, he didn't waste any time and came to the bottom of the 5 Fiends mountain range. Finally, after running for half a day, he found a flying-type yellow-class spirit beast. He quickly called out to it. Gigi.
Huh?
The flying spirit beast said. Gigi. Skybolt Pig said. The flying spirit beast said. Gigi. The Sky Thunder Pig was a little disappointed. The 5 Demons Dragon was a spirit beast at the peak of the late stage of Heaven rank. It was very close to the Heavenly Tao. Unless he was a Heavenly Tao spirit beast, he wouldn't be able to command this flying-type spirit beast. The flying spirit beast said. Skybolt Pig was helpless. It seemed like his thinking was too simple. The spirit beasts here were all following the orders of the 5 Fiends Dragon. They wouldn't listen to him at all. He could only go to a safe place and discuss with Zhao Qikuan and the others. He wanted to see if there was a way to save Lin Yi. Lin Yi hadn't come back after so many days, and Skybolt Pig was very worried. Chapter 2850. The pig had no choice but to return to the 5 Fiends Mountains. Chi-Chi was getting weaker and weaker these days, her face pale and pale. Other than when she ate, she spent most of her time lying on the ground. Lin Yi saw this and panicked, but there was nothing he could do. Today was the 20th day. If they couldn't leave by then, Chi-Chi. Lin Yi didn't even dare think about it. Chi-Chi, what do you think? Are you hungry? Lin Yi had been chatting with Chi-Chi since early in the morning, but it was Lin Yi who talked the most and Chi-Chi who didn't respond at all. She was simply too weak right now and didn't have the strength to talk anymore. Hungry? I think so. But I don't want to eat grilled fish anymore. It's too dry. I want to eat something else. Chi-Chi said weakly. You don't want to eat. But there's only grilled fish here. Truth be told, Lin Yi was getting sick of the food he'd been eating for the past couple of days. He didn't eat much, but he was a spiritual practitioner and had the jade to replenish his energy. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, couldn't rely on Qi to replenish her energy. She could only rely on food. Then I won't eat anymore. Chi-Chi closed her eyes with that. All right, I'll go look into other ways to keep the water in the fish. Lin Yi said after some thought. And, thank you. Chi-Chi was very touched. Lin Yi's meticulous care these days. Chi-Chi's impression of Lin Yi had increased quite a bit. It wasn't the romantic type, but she saw Lin Yi as her closest friend. Haha, it's fine. Lin Yi got up and went fishing, thinking about how to keep the water in the fish. There was no pot here, and there wasn't a hole for a pot. Even Tianchan wouldn't be able to make a hole in the hard ground like this, let alone Lin Yi. And so, Lin Yi automatically eliminated the idea of cooking the fish. He had to think of other ways. Suddenly, Lin Yi's eyes stopped at the lake not far away. The soil around the lake was soil, but it was close to the lakeside. Lin Yi couldn't dig a hole here, and he couldn't use his refinement fire to heat up the entire lake. But he remembered an island survival training he'd received when he was young. He'd used soil to wrap an entire fish, roasted it with fire, and then peeled the soil away to reveal that the fish was fresh and tender. It wasn't burnt at all, and all the moisture was retained. This was the inspiration Lin Yi got from the beggar's chicken. Back on the island, Lin Yi made this type of fish, and Lin Yi decided to go back to making it for Chi-Chi. After catching the fish, Lin Yi cleaned it up by the lakeside and dug out some mud from the lake, wrapping the fish in it before roasting it. Half an hour later, Lin Yi came back to the place he was resting with Chi-Chi with a pile of mud. Chi-Chi, get up and eat. Lin Yi put the mud balls on the ground. What's this? What's this? Chi-Chi looked at the mud balls Lin Yi had thrown on the ground. She didn't know what was edible about them. This is called mudfish. You break the hard shell, and the inside is exposed to the fresh meat. You can eat it. The result of grilling it this way is that the water won't dry out. Lin Yi said, "You don't want to eat grilled fish anymore, right?" Chi-Chi's eyes went wide with disbelief. She stared at the ball of mud on the ground, lost in thought, not saying a word for a while. What's wrong? You've never seen it before? It's actually very tasty. Let me show you. Lin Yi thought that Chi-Chi didn't want to eat it. He picked up a mud ball and broke it, revealing the tender flesh inside. It was delicious, and all the water had been preserved. Here. Lin Yi gave it to Chi-Chi. Yeah. Chi-Chi felt like she was back in her childhood. Back then, her father had given them an island survival test, throwing her and the rest of the team into different locations on different islands. Chi-Chi was very lucky, being thrown onto the same island as her brother Ai. Of course, she didn't know if it was her father's doing or not. There was no food or water on the island, much better than this valley. However, Ai's brother had used plastic bags to collect the dew on the leaves as drinking water, catching fish in the sea and roasting it for her. After eating it for many days, Chi-Chi didn't really like roasted fish anymore. She told Ai that she wanted a change, and Ai's brother racked his brains and made her a roasted fish wrapped in mud, fresh and juicy. It was a memory that was fresh in Chi-Chi's mind. What she remembered wasn't just the taste of the roasted fish, but the beautiful memories of Ai's brother's love and care for her. Chi-Chi's heart had already fallen in love with him back then. Now, at the bottom of the cliff, Chi-Chi was once again looking at this delicacy from her memories. She couldn't help but feel emotional. The people who made it were different, but they were all so caring and protective of her. Young Chi-Chi took a bite of the fish. The taste brought tears to her eyes. It was exactly the same as the one in her memories. In her haze, young Chi-Chi felt like she was back in her childhood, back on that deserted island. Her tears flowed down her cheeks, landing on the fish, but she didn't care as she carefully ate the fish. This fish wasn't just a delicacy. It was a form of longing and attachment. Chi-Chi's crying gave Lin Yi quite the fright. Even if the mud fish wasn't good, it shouldn't be so bad that she was crying, right? Lin Yi scratched his head, not knowing what to do. Didn't Yang Xiaoxiao say that it was delicious when they were kids? Could it be that his skills had deteriorated after all these years? The 5 energies had invaded Chi-Chi's body, making her so weak that she was about to faint, but at this moment, she was very happy. What surprised Lin Yi even more was the fact that this roasted fish wasn't delicious. Why was Chi-Chi eating it so fast? Was it delicious? Then why was she crying? Was she afraid that the 5 energies would invade her body and kill her? Thinking about it, Lin Yi felt that this was most likely the case. He quickly comforted her. Chi-Chi, don't cry. I'm here. We'll be fine. You won't die, don't worry. If you really did die, I wouldn't be able to explain it to Master. Chapter 28:51. But in Chi-Chi's ears, that wasn't the case. Many years ago, on a deserted island, someone had said the exact same thing to her while she was eating grilled fish. Chi-Chi was already in a daze from the 5 malevolence chi and was on the verge of fainting. She was imagining herself back on that deserted island, with Ai Big Bro beside her, grilling fish for her. Ai Big Bro, I believe you. You'll bring Xiao Qi back. Chi-Chi murmured. What? Lin Yi's body froze as if he'd been struck by lightning. He raised his head and stared at Chi-Chi, stunned. Chi-Chi's voice was soft, but it was clear in this empty cliff. Big bro had touched Lin Yi's most sensitive heartstrings. It had been so long since he'd heard those words. But this person in front of him, Lin Yi couldn't believe it. This person in front of him. Could she be his Shifu's daughter, Yang Xiaoxiao? His childhood sweetheart. But wasn't she called Yang Xiaoxiao? Why was she Chi-Chi now? Xiaoxiao, why'd you change your name? Lin Yi asked. Xiaoxiao doesn't sound nice. Big bro. You like to call me Xiao-Chi, so I'll call myself Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi was a little confused as well, not sure if she was the little Yang Xiaoxiao or the grown-up Chi-Chi. Today was the last day of the 20 days. Unless it was a practitioner like Lin Yi, Zhang Naipeo, or Tian-chan, they'd be unconscious on the 20th day. Yes, she was Yang Xiaoxiao. Lin Yi didn't doubt it anymore. Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi's pale face. That cool girl who bit the hand that fed her had become loyalty to him in Lin Yi's eyes, and all of Lin Yi's resentment towards her vanished in an instant. Think about it. What was wrong with a girl protecting her chastity for the person she liked? Lin Yi saw her body. It was normal for her to be angry, but Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect things to be so coincidental. That's right, Xiao-Chi and Chi-Chi clearly meant the same thing. Why didn't I think of it before? Perhaps his first impression was the strongest, so he didn't think in this direction. Chi-Chi used to be very cute, but she wasn't as cool and pretty as she was now. This was also why Lin Yi didn't recognize her. It was hard to connect a cute girl with a cool girl, but thinking about it, Chi-Chi had been trained as an assassin for so many years. She'd have no one to rely on after he left, and she still had to take care of little Gio. Of course, she'd have to be strong. Therefore, it was reasonable for his personality to change and his dressing style to change as well. Xiao-Chi, don't worry. Big brother Yi won't let anything happen to you. We'll definitely get through this trouble safely. Lin Yi looked at Chi-Chi and clenched his fist. He took a deep breath and said solemnly. This was Lin Yi's promise. No matter what, he wouldn't let anything happen to Chi-Chi. Fortunately, Chi-Chi was a physical practitioner, and with the 5 malevolence chi in her body, it wouldn't cause her to go berserk. She'd just faint, unlike spiritual practitioners who'd mess up their chi. Looking at the cliff, Lin Yi fell into deep thought. Lin Yi had thought of everything he could think of, but there was nothing he could do outside the test grounds, on the teleportation formation. Kong Mingming was about to fall asleep as he stared at it. Ever since Chikuan and the other 3 came out, no one else had come out. It made sense that those who hadn't come out by now wouldn't be able to make it out alive. On the evening of the 20th day, Kong Mingming shook his head and got up to report to Silkworm Shapeshifter. No one else had come out of the teleportation formation, but he still had to report to Silkworm Shapeshifter in actuality. Even if Kong Mingming hadn't come, Tian-chan would still be worried. Kong Mingming's absence meant that no one else had come out of the teleportation formation. Evidently, Lin Yi hadn't come out, and this made Tian-chan feel uneasy. Why would she care about someone so much? Tian-chan didn't know, but she couldn't help but feel unhappy if she didn't see Lin Yi come out safely. Of course, the Xianxin and Xuanjin elders were worried as well. It had been 20 days, and there was still no news of Naipeo. The 2 came to Silkworm Shapeshifter's palace, once more. Tian-chan greets Master Uncle. Tian-chan had something on her mind, but she couldn't be rude. Still no news of Naipeo? The Xianxin elder waved his hand, telling Tian-chan not to be so courteous. Martial Uncle, there's no news yet. Tian-chan shook her head. The Xianxin elder didn't think much of her sullen look, thinking that she was worried about Naipeo as well. What's going on? So many people who aren't as strong as him have come out. Why isn't he out yet? The Xianxin elder knew that Tian-chan wouldn't hide the news of Naipeo, but he still came to ask himself. The news he got was unsurprisingly that Naipeo hadn't come out. Could he be trapped in a safe place? The spirit beasts have been rampaging for the past 2 days. Naipeo might not dare to leave. The Xuanjin elder sighed and analyzed. That's possible. The Xianxin elder's face softened after hearing this. He thought for a while and turned to Tian-chan. How about this, Tian-chan? Go to the 5-element barons again, and look for Naipeo. If he's really inside, bring him out.
Me?
Go to the 5-element barons again? Tian-chan pointed at herself and looked at the Xianchen elder, stunned. At this moment, Tian-chan's heart was beating furiously. She almost agreed happily, but logic told her that she couldn't do that. That's right. The Xianchen elder nodded. Go find Naipeo. Currently, only you are immune to the 5-element barons. Isn't that a little dangerous? The Xuanzhen elder didn't agree. Although Tian-chan is immune to the 5-element barons, the spirit beasts are rampaging right now. If she goes, she'll probably be in danger, right? Of course there will be danger, but what if something happens to Naipeo? The Xianchen elder waved his hand and said, Second brother, this isn't the time to be soft-hearted. I know that Tian-chan is your disciple, but she's also my disciple niece. Although you've been hiding this from me, I've always treated her as my disciple. Chapter 2852. Plus, Tian-chan has a sachet of the beast race on her. She can disguise herself as a spirit beast, so it shouldn't be a problem. The Xianchen ancestor said, All right, it's settled then. Tian-chan, go investigate and see if any of the participants who came with Zhang Naipeo passed the test, and if any of them saw Zhang Naipeo moving around. Once you've found out, we'll enter the 5 Evils wildlands tomorrow morning. Yes, Master Uncle. Tian-chan cupped her fists expressionlessly, but she was a little excited inside. Tian-chan, be careful. The Xuanzhen ancestor could only say this now. Don't worry, Master, I'll be careful. I'll definitely find Zhang Naipeo. Tian-chan nodded. All right, then it's settled. The Xianchen ancestor had just finished speaking when someone knocked on the door of the palace. Not long after, Little Peach walked over carefully, but when she saw the Xianchen ancestor and the Xuanzhen ancestor, she wanted to say something, but stopped herself. Who's here? The Xianchen ancestor turned to Little Peach and asked. It's the 8th elder. He's here to see the young master. Little Peach didn't even dare to breathe loudly. She lowered her head and said carefully. These were all boss-level existences. However, she had her own plans. If she could let Kong Mingming show his face in front of the Xianchen ancestor and the Xuanzhen ancestor, that would be of great benefit to him. If the Xianchen ancestor thought highly of him, then he'd have a meteoric rise. It's Kong Mingming, right? The Xuanzhen ancestor naturally knew this 8th elder and asked faintly. Yes, Master. Tian-chan said quickly. Let him in. Ancestor, Xianzhen, was a man of his word. Kong Mingming had made a great contribution to the Heavenly Elixir sect. Although the inheritance of Tian-chan had failed, they still needed to find other cultivators to inherit the power of origin. Therefore, they still needed Kong Mingming to concoct elixirs. He had promised Kong Mingming that he would give him benefits and introduce him to Ancestor Xianzhen as a disciple. Now was the time. Yes, Patriarch Xianzhen. Little Peach replied excitedly and went out to look for Kong Mingming. Big Brother Kong, Patriarch Xianzhen is also here. Your chance has come. As long as you can obtain Patriarch Xuanzhen's favor, the young sect master will also think highly of you. I understand, Little Peach. Rest assured, just watch my performance. Kong Mingming was also a little excited. Patriarch Xianzhen and Patriarch Xianchen were both high and mighty existences. If he could obtain their favor, it would be like ascending to the heavens in a single step. Disciple Xiaoming greets Patriarch Xianzhen, Patriarch Xianchen, and young sect master. Kong Mingming's attitude was very low, and he positioned himself as an ordinary disciple of the Heavenly Elixir sect. Second senior brother, this is the Kong Mingming that you told me about before, right? Patriarch Xianchen looked at Kong Mingming and asked. Previously, Patriarch Xianzhen said that he would reward Kong Mingming by making him his disciple in name. Patriarch Xianzhen had also verbally agreed to this. Yes, Xianzhen, it's him. Take him as a disciple in name? Patriarch Xianzhen nodded and asked. All right, since second senior brother has spoken, how could I, as a junior brother, dare not to listen? Patriarch Xianchen laughed and said, Kong Ming Ming, then I will accept you as my disciple in name. On the surface, he seemed to be very respectful to Patriarch Xianzhen, but in fact, it was just an act. When it came to real matters, he had never listened to Patriarch Xianzhen's words. He only treated Patriarch Xianzhen as his second senior brother on these insignificant matters. Disciple Kong Ming Ming greets Master. When Kong Ming Ming heard this, he was immediately overjoyed. He immediately knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times to Patriarch Xianzhen, confirming the status of master and disciple. And not bad. Get up first. When the trial is over, come find me. I will teach you some techniques that alchemists can use. Since you are my disciple, you can't tarnish my reputation. Patriarch Xianzhen said to Kong Ming Ming. Thank you, Master. Don't worry, I will do my best to cultivate, Kong Ming Ming said. All right, tell me first. Why are you here? Patriarch Xianzhen waved his hand and signaled for Kong Ming Ming to get to the point. It's like this, Master, Patriarch Xianzhen, young master. Today is the end of the trial. Since the last 4 people who came out last time, no one else has come out of the portal, Kong Ming Ming reported. He was extremely excited. Lin Yi actually didn't come out. This made him want to laugh 3 times to celebrate, but in front of so many important people, he didn't dare to do so. So, Zhang Naipeo didn't come out? Although Patriarch Xianzhen had expected this result, his face was still very ugly. It seemed that his hope was completely gone. Master, don't worry. I will go to the 5 Evils Barons tomorrow and find out where Zhang Naipeo went. Tian Chan said quickly. Of course, finding Zhang Naipeo was just an excuse. Finding Lin Yi was her real goal. She should thank Xianzhen for giving her a reason to return to the 5 Evils Barons. And, since the trial is over, go find out where Zhang Naipeo is and get ready to go. Patriarch Xianzhen waved his hand impatiently, as if he wanted Tian Chan to go to the 5 Evils Barons now. Yes, I will go investigate now. Tian Chan also wanted to investigate the people that Lin Yi knew and see why Lin Yi didn't come out. On the other hand, Kong Ming Ming was shocked. He didn't think that the person the Patriarch was worried about was Zhang Naipeo. No wonder the silkworm transformation always asked him to report the news. It was because of Zhang Naipeo. Of course, Kong Ming Ming misunderstood Tian Chan's thoughts. Tian Chan didn't stay and left the palace directly. As for Kong Ming Ming, naturally, he couldn't stay. The Patriarch was obviously worried about Zhang Naipeo and didn't have time to care about this disciple. So, Kong Ming Ming cupped his fists and said, Master, I will leave too. And you go first. I will look for you when I'm done here. Patriarch Xianzhen waved his hand, indicating that Kong Ming Ming could leave. Kong Xiaoming left the side courtyard of the palace. Little Peach sent him out and was happy for him. Big brother Kong, you are so lucky to be able to become a disciple of Elder Xianzhen. In the future, you will have a backer in Sky Elixir Sect. If the young master looks at you in a different light, then you will be a duke. Chapter 2853. Now that Lin Yi was dead, Kong Ming Ming's next goal was to gain a foothold in the Sky Elixir Sect and develop House Kong. I believe that Big Bro Kong will definitely become the strongest elder in the Sky Elixir Sect. Little Peach said expectantly. Haha, that's for sure. Kong Ming Ming laughed. After Tian Chan came out of the courtyard, she immediately went to the Heavenly Elixir Sect Inn and directly found the manager on duty at the Heavenly Elixir Sect Inn. Manager Sun, give me the guest room registration list. Yes, young master. Shopkeeper Sun was shocked. He didn't expect that Heavenly Silkworm transformation would personally come to the Heavenly Dan Sect Inn. Although he didn't know what Heavenly Silkworm transformation wanted the name list for, he quickly took it out and said, Young Sect Master, it's here, please have a look. And let me ask you something, there's a person called Zhang Naipeo. Did he come back to the inn? Tian Chan took the list and asked faintly. Zhang Naipeo? Wait a moment, let me check. Manager Sun quickly turned on the computer and checked, but quickly shook his head. No, Zhang Naipeo didn't come back to the inn. Then what about Lin? Tian Chan asked again. The Zhang Naipeo from before was just a prelude. Although Tian Chan was sure that Manager Sun wouldn't just say whatever she asked, but Tian Chan still felt a little guilty. Also no. Manager Sun shook his head after checking. If that's the case, then it's fine. Tian Chan waved her hand, indicating that Manager Sun could go back to his own business. Although Tian Chan already knew that Lin Yi wouldn't come back to the inn without using the teleportation circle, but if she didn't ask, she wouldn't feel at ease. But how would Manager Sun dare to do anything else in front of Silkworm Transformation? He could only carefully stand to the side, waiting for Silkworm Transformation's next order. Tian Chan took the guest room list in her hand and looked through it carefully. She first looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi came with Zhao Qikuan from the Hidden House Zhao, and this was noted on the guest list. Zhang Naipeo, on the other hand, came with Mo Ba and Mo Jiu from the Everyday and Day sect Zhao Qikuan. Tian Chan remembered that he was one of the last 4 participants to pass the Sky Elixir sect. Her memory was very good, so she remembered him right away. But Mo Ba and Jiu didn't have any impressions. Tian Chan didn't see their names on the guest list. Manager Sun, Mo Ba and Mo Everyday and Sun Sex Mo Jiu have seen E. Master, Young Master, Mo Day and Xiao Jiu Everyday and Sect Mo Everyday and Xiao Mo they E and Mo Nai have E Xiao Sect Lin is Tian Lin Chen Tian E I Tian Lin Tian Chen. In Lin, Mo Tian Xiao, what happened to him? Elder Sun knew about Mo Jiu's situation very well. After all, it happened in the inn, so Manager Sun had a deep impression of it. Earlier, in the restaurant, Zhang Naipeo from the Everyday and Sun sect brought Mo Ba and Mo Jiu to provoke them, and then, that Lin Yi you mentioned, he crippled Mo Jiu with one palm. He's still relying on pills to keep him alive, and he hasn't woken up yet. What? Lin Yi did it? Tian Chan froze. She didn't think that Lin Yi and Zhang Naipeo had such a big grudge. Although she knew a little about Lin Yi, she didn't know that he had a grudge with the Everyday and Sun sect. Yes, Lin Yi is only an Earth-class late phase, but he was able to heavily injure a Sky-class mid-phase with one palm. That's quite strange, Manager Sun said. But for some reason, Zhang Naipeo and Mo Ba chose to temporarily hold back and didn't clash with Lin Yi any further. However, Zhang Naipeo said that he wanted to see who was stronger in the test. Oh, Tian Chan frowned. Could it be that Lin Yi met Zhang Naipeo again in the Five Fiends Barrens, and the two of them got into a fight that ended in mutual destruction? Thinking about how Lin Yi had the safe place map, and Zhang Naipeo also had the safe place map, it was inevitable that the two would meet. Thinking about this, Tian Chan's heart tensed up. She was a little worried about Lin Yi. If she knew that the two had a grudge, she would have warned Lin Yi. Now, it seemed that her guess was right. The two must have fought. Manager Sun, which room is this Zhao Qikuan staying in? He should know about it. I'll go ask him. Tian Chan didn't need to explain so much. Even if she didn't say anything and asked for Zhao Qikuan, Manager Sun wouldn't have asked a word. It was just that Tian Chan was acting like a little girl when it came to dealing with Lin Yi. It was a little like she was trying to hide something. But no matter how brave Manager Sun was, he didn't dare to think too much. Besides, in his eyes, Tian Chan was a man. Whether it was Zhao Qikuan, Zhang Naipeo, or Lin Yi, it wasn't a big deal. Let me see, it's upstairs, 307, Manager Sun said. Okay, you can continue with your work. Tian Chan nodded her head and turned around to go upstairs. Only then did Shopkeeper Sun let out a sigh of relief. Tian Chan came to Zhao Qikuan's room and knocked. Who is it? Wait a minute. Zhao Qikuan's voice came from the room. As the practitioner who passed the test, he was waiting in his room for the reward. The practitioners who didn't get the herbs but came out of the portal had already returned to their sections. But Zhao Qikuan had another reason for staying here, and that was to wait for Lin Yi. It was already the 21st day, and Lin Yi wasn't back yet. But Zhao Qikuan didn't want to give up. He believed that Lin Yi would come back alive. So when he heard the knocking, Zhao Qikuan was a little excited. He thought that it was Lin Yi coming back. After all, he had just had breakfast with Feng Shipian, Guxian, and Li Siba. The four of them weren't in the mood to do anything else. After breakfast, they all went back to their rooms to wait for Lin Yi's news. That was why Zhao Qikuan misunderstood. Zhao Qikuan got up and opened the door. He froze. Because, outside the door, there was a stranger he had never seen before. In this inn, there were a few practitioners who had passed the test, but even if Qikuan wasn't familiar with them, he would at least recognize them. The person in front of him, however, was clearly not one of the practitioners in the inn. You are? Zhao Qikuan looked at Tian Chan curiously. Chapter 2854. Since Qikuan came with Lin Yi, he was evidently Lin Yi's friend, and so Tian Chan didn't put on any airs. Qikuan's strength was low, but she still spoke politely. Young Master Tian, hello? Qikuan jumped. He hadn't seen Skyworm transformation before, but he knew how strong the young master was. This was one of the strongest ancient sects, just like the Hidden House Yu. And so, Qikuan asked respectfully, "Excuse me, you're looking for me?" Of course, Qikuan didn't think that this person was a fake at all. Pretending to be the young master of Sky Elixir in Sky Elixir's turf was suicide. "I'm here to ask you something, but aren't you going to invite me in?" Tian Chan asked politely. I'm sorry, please come in, young Master Tia." Qikuan quickly made a gesture of invitation and let Skyworm transformation in. "Qikuan, I'm here to ask you something. I hope you can answer me truthfully." Skyworm transformation didn't put on airs in front of Qikuan, but it wasn't as weak as Tian Chan had been. "Ask away, young Master Tian. If I want to know, I won't hide anything." Qikuan said that, but this was only what he could say. He wouldn't say anything that he couldn't say. All right. Tian Chan didn't care if Qikuan was telling the truth or not. She only asked, "What's your relationship with Lin Yi?" "Lin Yi,"
Qikuan said, shocked.
"What happened to him? Answer my question first." Tian Chan was expressionless, but she breathed out in relief. If Qikuan said this, then it meant that Lin Yi was fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't be asking this. "I'm Lin Yi's follower," Qikuan said truthfully. There was no need to hide it. Tian Chan nodded and continued. "Did you meet your boss in the trial?" Qikuan was a little surprised to hear Tian Chan call Lin Yi her boss. He didn't expect Master Tian to be so approachable. In fact, this kind of subtle change wasn't something Tian Chan was aware of. Perhaps in the depths of her heart, she felt that one day she would become Zhao Qikuan's sister-in-law, and so the way she spoke changed quite a bit. "Yes, our boss has a trial map of the Heavenly Elixir School. There are signs of safe places on it. This is a map given to him by the Heavenly Elixir School. Young Master Tian should know about it, right?" Qikuan had heard from Lin Yi that this map was given to him by the Sky Elixir sect, so he didn't hide it. "I have a copy of this too." "Oh? So you guys went to a safe place to meet?" Tian Chan did not delve into the matter of the map and continued to ask. "Yes, we met at a safe place." Qikuan nodded. Tian Chan was confused after hearing Qikuan's response. Lin Yi going to a safe place should have happened after they got back from Wushuang Mountains. If he'd gotten there safely, then why didn't he come out with Qikuan? "Safe place, then did you guys meet Zhang Naipeo?" Tian Chan suddenly remembered Zhang Naipeo, and so she asked. "Zhang Naipeo? I met him." What happened in the trial wasn't a secret. Even if Qikuan didn't say anything, the two disciples from the Dark Palace would have told anyways. Qikuan said honestly. Plus, Boss and Zhang Naipeo got into a conflict again. The two of them got into a conflict? And then? Tian Chan asked impatiently. This is what happened. Qikuan didn't explain much, but described what happened from a bystander's point of view. He believed that the Dark Palace disciples had seen it as well. Tian Chan listened to Qikuan's narration. Hearing that Lin Yi beat Zhang Naipeo, she let out a sigh of relief. But she was even more puzzled. Naipeo could use the Dark Demon Fist, so how did Lin Yi know it too? Plus, how was Lin Yi so strong? After killing Demon 8, he beat Naipeo? Of course, what confused Tian Chan the most was that if Naipeo couldn't be Lin Yi's enemy anymore, Then where did Lin go? Why didn't he come back with Chikuin? As for where Naipeo went after going crazy, whether he was dead or not, Tian-chan didn't really care. What happened after that? Why didn't Lin come back with you? Tian-chan continued. After that, it was because one of Boss's friends went to Five Fiends Mountains and Boss wanted to find her, so he went there. But after he left, there was no news of him. I waited in a safe place for the 18th day, but he didn't come back, so I left. Chikuin sighed and said worriedly, Young Master Tian, does your Sky Elixir sect make a list of all the participants who didn't come out of the portal? Yeah, but I'm mainly responsible for people related to Zhang Naipeo, Tian-chan said. In fact, even if the Sky Elixir sect wanted to make a list, it wouldn't be up to the young master to ask about it. It was just that Chikuin didn't know about it. Hearing that Lin Yi had returned to Five Fiends Mountains, Tian-chan's heart jumped. Lin Yi had gone back. Would he meet the Five Fiends Dragon again? Even if Lin Yi could kill Sky-class mid-phase masters in one hit, he wouldn't be a match for the Five Fiends Dragon. Tian-chan herself wasn't a match for the Five Fiends Dragon, let alone Lin Yi. With that thought, Tian-chan couldn't help but panic. She wanted to go to Five Fiends Mountains as soon as possible. Alright, your information is very important. However, I hope you can keep my questions to yourself. This is also the trial rule of our Heavenly Elixir sect. Tian-chan got the answer she wanted to know, so she stood up and prepared to leave. That's not a problem. Chikuin nodded. Young Master Tian, may I ask if the Sky Elixir sect will organize a rescue team to search for the participants who didn't come out? That depends. I can't promise you that, Tian-chan said vaguely. Alright, I have to go. I have other questions. Chapter 2855. After Tian-chan walked out of Zhao Chikuin's room, there was no need to continue investigating. One of the two people related to Zhang Naipeo was dead, and the other was unconscious, and the two followers from the Dark Palace didn't know anything at all. So, Tian-chan decided to go straight to the Five-Element Wildlands. After returning to the palace, Tian-chan told the Xianxin and Xuanjin ancestors about the results of her investigation, but she only talked about Emojo being unconscious, not what Zhao Chikuin had said. After all, Tian-chan didn't want Five-Element sect to hate Lin Yi, so she didn't say anything. If they found out later, there was nothing Tian-chan could do. But the Xianxin ancestor didn't have the time to think about this. He couldn't go to the Sky Elixir sect to ask the practitioners who passed the test like he did with Silkworm transformation. He was very happy when he heard that Tian-chan was going to the Five-Element sect again. In his eyes, Tian-chan's life wasn't important anymore. She wasn't as valuable as Zhang Naipeo. The Xuanjin ancestor, on the other hand, told Tian-chan to be careful and stay alive if the situation wasn't right. Although Tian-chan entered the portal as Silkworm transformation after arriving at the Five-Element Wildlands, the first thing Tian-chan did was change back to Tian-chan's attire and sprinted towards the Five-Element Mountain Range. The path from the portal to the Five-Element Mountain Range wasn't dangerous. This was the path Tian-chan had taken before, and this was the reason why she gave the sachet to Lin Yi. Half a day later, Tian-chan arrived at the Five-Element Mountain Range. The Five-Element Mountain Range was still the same Five-Element Mountain Range, but Tian-chan's mood was completely different. The first time she came here, she was filled with anxiety and anticipation for the inheritance. When she left, she was filled with regret, reluctance, and determination. The second time she came here, Tian-chan was a little excited, but also a little worried at this moment. Tian-chan had the same thought as Lin Yi when he returned to the Penta Mountain Range. After coming to the Penta Mountain Range, the only place they could go was the cave of the Penta Dragon. Hence, Tian-chan flew directly in the direction of the cave of the Penta Dragon. However, Tian-chan was pleasantly surprised to see a familiar little figure not too far away from the Five Evils Dragon's cave. It was Lin Yi's spiritual beast, the Skybolt Pig. When the Skybolt Pig saw Tian-chan, he cried out happily, "G. Little guy, why are you here? Where is Lin Yi?" Tian-chan impatiently ran over and picked up the Skybolt Pig. Roar! When the Penta Dragon heard the noise outside the cave, It walked out of the cave. When it saw Tian-chan, it was startled and said, "Little girl, why are you here?" Hearing the pentadragon speak, Tian-chan was startled. But she knew that many spiritual beasts could speak after reaching the heaven rank. It was not strange for the pentadragon to speak. It was just that the pentadragon didn't speak before, but it spoke at this time. This surprised Tian-chan. You can speak? You said that he came. Lin-Yi, he also came? Tian-chan was very smart. She noticed the word also in the pentadragon's words. It seemed that Lin-Yi had come before. I don't know whether he is called Lin-Yi or not, but he did come. The pentadragon was angry with Tian-chan and wanted to tease her. Where is he now? Tian-chan was happy and asked quickly. Him? Do you want to know? The pentadragon narrowed its eyes and looked at Tian-chan. Yes, can you tell me? Tian-chan nodded and asked. Of course, I can bring you there. The pentadragon said. Thank you. Tian-chan was anxious to save Lin-Yi, so she didn't see the pentadragon's evil intentions. But the skybolt pig felt it. Wasn't it the same as what the pentadragon said to Lin-Yi?
Squeak, squeak.
The skybolt pig cried out in panic. He wanted to stop Tian-chan, but it was obvious that it was useless. The pentadragon rushed over and grabbed Tian-chan. The skybolt pig, who was in Tian-chan's arms, was also grabbed. Tian-chan cried out, but it was too late. The five evils dragon swung its claws and with a swoosh, threw Tian-chan and Skythunder Pig off the cliff. As you wish. Annoying human cultivators, go to hell. The dragon of five evils returned to its cave, leisurely after doing all that. It hated Tian-chan and Lin-Yi to the core. It could have obtained the power of the five evils to increase its cultivation, but it was ruined by these human practitioners. In the beginning, a large number of Earth rank and above human cultivators appeared in the savage land of five evils. The pentadragon was very angry, so it ordered the nearby spirit beasts to kill these human cultivators. However, the five evils dragon wasn't stupid. It knew that there must be a reason behind everything. Over the years, human cultivators had entered the savage land of five evils, but they only sent some yellow class and mystic class cultivators here. They didn't dare to violate this rule, so there weren't too many conflicts between human cultivators and the spiritual beasts in the savage land of five evils. This time, there were so many high-level cultivators, including several heaven stage cultivators. This made the dragon of five evils feel both angry and puzzled. It didn't believe that the heavenly elixir sect would be so stupid to do such a suicidal thing. Suddenly, it thought that the time for the five evils' origin power to be released was approaching. Could it be related to this? Whether it was related or not, the pentadragon quickly returned to its cave. Sure enough, there was a human cultivator who was stimulating the pentadragon's origin with external force. It seemed that its guess was right. It had fallen into the human cultivator's trap. This was also the reason why the pentadragon came back so early. However, it was too late and didn't absorb the penta-origin. Tian-chan was shocked. But she immediately realized that Lin-Yi was also thrown off the cliff by the pentadragon, and she was played by the pentadragon. However, Tian-chan felt helpless. Fortunately, the pentadragon didn't hurt her this time. It just threw her off the cliff. So Tian-chan hurried to use the Heart Sutra and genuine Qi to protect her body. She quickly said to Skybolt Pig, "Piglet, how are you? Are you okay to fall down?" Rawr. Skybolt Pig shook his head, indicating that there was no problem. Chapter 2856. Lin-Yi was startled. Could it be some kind of powerful spirit beast? He hurriedly looked up at the sky, only to see a yellow figure falling down at an extremely high speed. Tian-chan? Lin-Yi subconsciously thought of Tian-chan because other than Tian-chan, no one else came to the Five Fiends Mountain. Even if they came, they wouldn't jump off the cliff for no reason. Lin-Yi was afraid that Tian-chan would fall, so he stood up and looked at the direction where Tian-chan fell. He jumped and caught Tian-chan in his arms. Sure enough, a familiar breath came. It was Tian-chan and Skybolt Pig. Lin-Yi was surprised and happy. He returned to the ground and hugged Tian-chan. He wanted to kiss her. In despair, he saw hope. Anyone would have the same reaction as Lin Yi. You still don't put me down? Tian-chan was hugged by Lin Yi and avoided falling to the ground. She was a little happy, but Lin Yi was still hugging her when he landed. This made her a little embarrassed. Although she wanted to see Lin Yi before and she finally saw him now, Tian-chan was still an unmarried girl. How could she be calm at this moment? Didn't I hug you before? Lin Yi smiled. I'll kick you. Tian-chan glared at Lin Yi. I came to find you with good intentions, but you still took advantage of me. Lin Yi smiled and put Tian-chan on the ground. Why did you come back? Lin Yi put Tian-chan down. She didn't know why, but Tian-chan felt a little reluctant. The warmth in his arms made her reluctant to leave. She couldn't help but be stubborn. I told you to let go, so let go. I wasn't ready yet. I almost fell. Why did you tell me in advance? Lin Yi was speechless. Did he put her down by mistake? Am I not afraid that you will kick me? You're a peak late phase heaven class expert. I've never seen you this honest before. Tian-chan curled her lips. I'm not here for you. I'm here for Zhang Naipeo. Have you seen him? Tian-chan naturally wouldn't admit that she was here for Lin Yi. She couldn't just leave Naipeo here either, so she decided to ask Lin Yi about his whereabouts. Perhaps Lin Yi would know. Oh, you're looking for Zhang Naipeo? Lin Yi paused, not expecting Tian-chan to come looking for Zhang Naipeo. What for? The Everyday sect contacted us, so they sent me here to find him. You know that we solo practitioners don't have human rights. Since we're in their sect, we have to work for them. Tian-chan shrugged. Lin Yi was evidently taken aback. He had guessed that Tian-chan was an important person in the Five Elements sect. Since she was able to come here to receive the inheritance, she had to be someone like Tag and Dragon. Why would they send her here to find Zhang Naipeo? Weren't they afraid that she would be in danger? With that thought, Lin Yi was confused. Then what happens if I can't find him? If I can't find him, then I won't be able to find him, Tian-chan said after some hesitation. No matter how stupid Lin Yi was, he understood that Tian-chan was here to find him. Looking for Zhang Naipeo was just an excuse. It'd be great if she could find him, but if she couldn't, then she wouldn't be able to find him. It was just that Tian-chan didn't say it out loud. Otherwise, why would Tian-chan carry the skybolt pig and jump off the cliff?
Kick you.
Tian-chan was blushing from Lin Yi's scolding. She was a little embarrassed. It's nothing. I'm just happy that you came to save me, Lin Yi said. No way, I was just passing by. Tian-chan acted like she didn't care. Don't think too much. I'm just here to see if Zhang Naipeo fell off the cliff as well. No, he went crazy. I beat him up, Lin Yi said truthfully. He didn't want to hide it from Tian-chan, I know. Tian-chan's answer surprised Lin Yi. You know? How did you know? Lin Yi blinked. Naturally, I heard it from someone who went out, Tian-chan said. It seems like it'll be quite difficult to find him. Yeah, Lin Yi nodded. He suddenly thought of Chi-Chi. He turned to Tian-chan, right, let's not talk about Zhang Naipeo for now. My friend's body has been invaded by the 5 Malevolence Chi. Do you have a way to get rid of it? Tian-chan had seen Chi-Chi a long time ago. This was why she wasn't as gentle to Lin Yi as before. If Chi-Chi was an auntie or looked like the 5 Malevolence Dragon, Tian-chan wouldn't be angry. But Chi-Chi was a pretty girl, and Tian-chan was starting to get annoyed.
No.
After 20 days, the 5 Malevolence Chi invades the practitioner's body. They die for sure. Tian-chan's eyes went wide all of a sudden. She looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. You're fine. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He didn't expect Tian-chan to be this quick, thinking of the most important question right away. You have a 5-element body as well, right? Tian-chan glared at Lin Yi. Anger flashed in her eyes. You have a virtual element in your body, right? You went to the 5 Malevolence Dragons cave to receive the inheritance of the origin, right? Tian-chan glared at Lin. Her heart felt like it was being torn apart. How worried had she been when she didn't see him come out? And the reason why he was here was because he wanted to receive the legacy of the source energy as well. And yet, he had been hiding it from her the entire time, not telling her the truth. This caused Tian-chan to feel that she was truly foolish. She was just like a fool who was being used by someone else. She was right. Lin was Boss Bai's favorite disciple. How could he not know that the 5 Malevolence Mountains could receive the inheritance of the origin? This was Tian-chan's misunderstanding. Boss Bai used to focus on alchemy. He didn't have time to study the inheritance at all. Faced with Tian-chan's sudden series of questions, Lin really didn't know how to explain or answer. However, Lin didn't mean to lie to her. Tian-chan, believe it or not, I didn't come here to receive the inheritance. I didn't know that I could receive the inheritance of the origin either. It was the Sky Thunder Pig who brought me here. I didn't have any ulterior motives. However, to tell you the truth, I have indeed accepted the inheritance. The illusory attribute in my body has turned into a real attribute. I am indeed a cultivator of the 5 attributes. Chapter 2857. Plus, Lin didn't have any items on him that could activate the 5 malevolent powers. He couldn't have known that she was here to accept the legacy. Could he? That wasn't realistic. With the Xiantian ancestor's personality, he wouldn't even tell the Xuanjin ancestor about it, let alone Boss Bai. With that thought, Tian-chan pouted and turned around, ignoring Lin. All right, I'll take it that I've taken away your inheritance. I'll compensate you, okay? Lin said helplessly. How are you going to compensate me? Give me your attributes? Tian-chan glared at Lin. I heard that inheritors can transfer attributes through dual cultivation? Lin looked at Tian-chan's curvaceous body and said with a smile that wasn't a smile. Dual training, my ass. You're not an inheritor. You're just a practitioner of the 5 elements. There's a fundamental difference between you and a true inheritor, and dual training with you won't be able to transfer attributes. Tian-chan pouted. What a dirty and complicated way of thinking. Man, I was just saying, how would I know? Lin smiled bitterly. Fine. I'll forgive you this time, seeing that we've been through thick and thin together. Tian-chan said proudly. You don't need to thank me. All right, but what about her? Lin was still worried about Chi-Chi. I said there's no way. Why does the test have to be 20 days? That's the reason. Tian-chan looked at Chi-Chi and asked expressionlessly, Who is she to you? Childhood friend, Lin said. Childhood friend? Tian-chan frowned. Sort of. Lin didn't hide it and nodded. Then there's no saving her. Tian-chan shook her head. Haze. Lin sighed. Tian-chan knew the 5 malevolent wildlands so well. If she said there was no way, then there really was no way. Lin stared blankly at Chi-Chi on the ground. He didn't think that their reunion would be a farewell of life and death. He regretted it, regretting his cold attitude the last few times they met, regretting that he didn't take good care of her. If Chi-Chi was really dead, how was he going to face his Shifu in the future? Even someone as strong as Lin couldn't help but shed tears of pain at the thought of this. Men didn't shed tears easily, and Lin was a practitioner. But this time, Lin really was tearing. He couldn't do anything about his childhood friend's life. Lin couldn't do anything about it. Tian-chan didn't think that Lin would cry, but this 5 malevolent chi was indeed unsolved. The Sky Elixir sect wouldn't have such a restriction otherwise. Even if Tian-chan was the young master of the sect, there was nothing she could do about it. But, seeing Lin sad, Tian-chan wasn't in a good mood. She was a little uncomfortable about Lin coming back to save Chi-Chi, but that was gone now. Tian-chan understood her identity very well. The chances of her meeting Lin wasn't high, and so, Tian-chan went into deep thought. She wanted to help Lin think of a way to get rid of the 5 malevolent chi. Hey, don't cry. I have an idea. It should work. Tian-chan thought of a person. If they could find him, the 5 malevolent chi might work. What idea? Lin asked, startled. The prerequisite is that we have to find Zhang Naipeo, and he has to be willing. Tian-chan said after some hesitation. Zhang Naipeo? Lin Yi blinked, but understood what Tian-chan was getting at. Wasp absorption arts. That's right, the wasp absorption arts. The 5 malevolent qi is also a type of qi, so Zhang Naipeo should be able to absorb it. But I don't know if she's a spiritual practitioner or a physical practitioner. If she's a spiritual practitioner, she'll lose all her qi, Tian-chan said. She's a physical practitioner, it should be fine. Lin Yi looked at Tian-chan gratefully. Yeah, why didn't you think of that? Wasn't Zhang Naipeo's ultimate skill absorbing other people's qi? Then it should be fine. Tian-chan nodded. Tian-chan, thank you so much. Lin Yi didn't know what to do. Forget thinking. You need to think about how you can get Zhang Naipeo to help you. Even if you find him, he might not help you. Tian-chan didn't want to pour cold water on him, but Lin Yi and Zhang Naipeo were enemies. How could Zhang Naipeo help Lin Yi? Lin Yi frowned, but had to admit that Tian-chan was telling the truth. Yeah, why would Zhang Naipeo help him? Plus, he's in a crazed state right now. He's unconscious. How are you going to get him to help you? Tian-chan asked. That's right. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Since Zhang Naipeo was in a crazed state, he could use that to get him to help. At most, they'd just go their separate ways and put down their grudges for later. What's right? Tian-chan blinked. I have some confidence that I can get him to help me. Let's go up first. Lin Yi said. Okay. Tian-chan nodded. Then, why aren't you taking off your clothes? Lin Yi couldn't help but ask after seeing that Tian-chan wasn't moving. Take off your head, that's a chest binding. I'll kick you. Tian-chan raged. Turn around. Can't you just turn around? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. How is that the same? If I turn around, you'll still be looking at me from behind. Tian-chan said angrily. Haha, even if I turn around, you wouldn't know if I peeked, right? Lin Yi smiled. Don't you dare. Tian-chan clenched her fist. You don't want your weapon anymore? All right, you win. Lin Yi said as he turned around. Tian-chan quickly took off her chest binding and adjusted her collar before handing the cloth to Lin Yi. She didn't think that Lin Yi would fall off the cliff again, so she didn't prepare a rope. Here. Tian-chan handed the cloth to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was quite familiar with the ropes. There was an extra young Chi-Chi this time, but she was petite and didn't weigh much. Lin Yi secured her to his body first before handing the rope to Tian-chan. Tian-chan tied the cloth to herself and turned to Lin Yi.
Done? Can we start now?
Chapter 28:58. Tian-chan didn't say anything as she leapt up. This time, she was familiar with the route. Tian-chan didn't need to use any skills, and so she could jump twice. Lin Yi replenished his energy once more, and it didn't take long for him to reach the top of the mountain. Sky-class late-phase peak is the best after all. Lin Yi couldn't help but exclaim. He might be able to one-shot this and that, but when it came to actual strength, there was still a huge gap between them. At least you know your place. Tian-chan was proud of herself. Zhang Naipeo, where are we going? After walking out from the cliff, Lin Yi was a little lost. Putting aside the fact that the 5 Evils Barons was huge, just the Spirit Beast rampage alone made it very difficult for them to find a person in this situation. Don't we have Skybolt Pig? Tian-chan pointed at the pig and said, Skybolt Pig can not only find treasures, but it can also find people. Of course, its range is limited, and it's not as good as treasure hunting. But it's a spirit beast, and it can travel freely in the 5 Evils Barons. Once it finds Zhang Naipeo, we can go there with a goal in mind. Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't think that Tian-chan would be this smart. This was a good idea. He turned to Skybolt Pig. Skybolt Pig, I'll leave this to you.
Oi, oi.
Skybolt Pig nodded. He didn't help much when Lin Yi fell off the cliff, and now that Lin Yi was asking for help, he couldn't wait to show off. Skybolt Pig went to find Zhang Naipeo, and Lin Yi and Tian-chan temporarily set up camp at the bottom of the 5 Evils Barons. There weren't any spirit beasts here, and it was even safer than the safe grounds. You have a 5-element body as well. Tian-chan was a little surprised when she talked about Lin Yi's body. Aren't you the same? Lin Yi shrugged. Then why didn't you tell me before when I told you about myself? Tian-chan asked. At that time, we didn't know each other very well. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. If you're not familiar with me, then why are you touching me there? Tian-chan snorted coldly and glared at Lin Yi. Lin Yi was a little helpless, but he also knew that sometimes it was impossible to reason with a girl, so he could only say, "All right, it's my fault for hiding this matter." That's more like it. Seeing that Lin Yi had admitted his mistake, Tian-chan suddenly felt very happy. Her previous resentment also disappeared. Instead, she was a little worried. Only you know about your physique, right? And a few people close to me. Lin Yi didn't understand what Tian-chan meant. What's wrong? Nothing. You'd better not reveal it or else. Forget it. Just keep it a secret. As a former spy, Tian-chan had endured too much pressure from the 5-element sect. So, she didn't want Lin Yi to follow her old path. If Lin Yi was really chosen by the 5-element sect, then he would also have to carry out that very dangerous task. This was not what Tian-chan wanted to see. Of course, if it weren't for our relationship reaching this point, I wouldn't have told you. Lin Yi nodded and said. And Tian-chan also nodded. By the way, I want to ask you something. The martial skill you used on the cliff before, was it the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm? Lin Yi hesitated for a moment and asked. Yes, do you know this martial skill? Tian-chan was slightly moved. Can you teach me? Lin Yi nodded and asked. This. Tian-chan couldn't help but be silent. She wanted to teach Lin Yi, but she didn't dare to. If she taught the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm to Lin Yi and the 5 elements sect knew about it, the consequences would not only be her bad luck, but also Lin Yi and the heavenly elixir sect. So, for everyone's sake, Tian-chan didn't dare to take this risk. When she heard Lin Yi's question, she had already guessed it. Since Lin Yi had the physique of the 5 elements, it was reasonable for him to want to learn the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm. Hee. I was just asking casually. Actually, I know how to do it. Lin Yi shrugged. He didn't want to embarrass Tian-chan. He could see that Tian-chan had her own difficulties. Lin Yi didn't think that Tian-chan would choose to hide it if she could teach him martial skills. After all, Tian-chan was willing to give him a sachet and return to the 5 Evils savage land to save him. Lin Yi knew that Tian-chan had her reasons for being silent. You know how to do it? Tian-chan was stunned. Yes, don't forget how Zhang Naipeo became crazy. I'm best at imitating other people's martial skills. Although it's not the same, it's 50% similar. Lin Yi smiled and said, I learned the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm from another person, Tag On Long. Tian-chan knew that since Lin Yi recognized the 5 elements 8 trigrams palm, he must have guessed her identity and the relationship between the 5 elements sect. Although the two didn't say it out loud, they knew each other well. It's him. Is he okay? Lin Yi asked. He's not dead, but he's not awake either. Tian-chan shook her head. And Lin Yi nodded and didn't continue this awkward topic. Hey, why do I feel like we're not familiar with each other anymore? Tian-chan saw that Lin Yi didn't say anything and was a little annoyed. She thought that she was too bored to expose the fact that Lin Yi accepted the inheritance. This way, both of them would feel uncomfortable. Actually, I was thinking, why didn't you get injured again before? Lin Yi grinned. He also felt that the atmosphere was a little awkward, so he made a joke. Annoying. How could Tian-chan not understand Lin Yi's meaning? She rolled her eyes at Lin Yi and said, Why are you so dirty? Can't you be more serious? I was serious just now, and you said that I'm not serious. Now you say that I'm dirty. I'm really innocent. Lin Yi shrugged and smiled bitterly. But I didn't call you a pervert. Tian-chan rolled her eyes. Hey, tell me about you and your childhood sweetheart. You mean her? Lin Yi pointed at Yang Chi-Chi and nodded after some hesitation. However, it was selective. Some things that could be said would be said by Lin E, but the things that couldn't were left out by Lin E. The story was very plain and could even be said to be extremely boring. Apart from training every day, there was only training, but Tian-chan listened with great interest. When Lin E finished, Tian-chan was surprised and confused. So you're saying that you're a physical practitioner? You've never practiced spiritual art since you were young? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.